You're watching the Action Sports Jax 24/7 network. Now it's time for the Brent and Austen Show.
Oh, look at this. It's a beautiful day here in Florida now. We've got ourselves some Florida weather. Did I see it might creep up to the 80s today? How about that? Finally. I'm actually sweating in here already. Can't make up our mind in this studio if it's going to be freezing or it's going to be hot. I'm still not in shorts mode yet, even if it's 80. I can't get there, so it'll be a little bit before shorts mode.
Wait, even at 80, you won't go into shorts?
Well, I mean, I will if it's consistently 80. I just can't get there in my mind. Like, I don't even think about putting on shorts before I leave the house. And, I mean, I might look like Casper has a tan if I wore shorts right now. So
right there with you.
But we'll get into that mode soon enough. It's just been a chilly January as we head out to the end of. Man, it's crazy. I'm not a guy who go fast. Like, life goes fast, time goes fast. This has been a fast month. We're already into February. Crazy enough. We'll talk a little Super Bowl today. We haven't really done that at all because we hate the Chiefs. Quite frankly, I hate the Chiefs. I hate the Eagles. I hate anybody good. But now I'm over that a little bit because I feel good about Jacksonville right now, and it's good to feel better. And it could be, I don't want to say probably, but it could be false hope, false feeling good. Whatever. We'll take it.
I don't think any of it's false.
Well, you never know. I mean, here's the deal. You just don't know. Yeah. So everybody can be excited, and that's a good thing. You do want that. But you don't know if it's going to land anywhere. By the way, that's the voice of Nick, the human enigma, Nick in the daytime. It's been a while, man.
Yeah, it's been a couple weeks since the last time I was on the show.
Well, you on this show.
Yeah.
You obviously have been on the show with Hamby with Stadium Pulse and No Name Show with Casey Kurtz, and although that's in the books, you guys retired that show for the year.
Yeah, for the year. Yeah.
Yeah. So I figured you could have done one more maybe with all the prop bets. Maybe we'll do a prop bet show next week with the Super Bowl. But that was fun throughout the year at 10 o'clock on Saturday mornings. Brent Martineau here. Austin Lane will join us in just a little bit. And Hamby will be back at it tomorrow. Austin actually joined us about halfway through the show. His schedule, I can't even figure it out. I'm usually pretty good at schedules. I have no idea which day he's doing what. But he'll join us halfway through about 11:30. Actually, going to talk a little fishing today. Paul Dozier will join us. Wahoo Shootout coming up in just a bit. Man, they've had some great moments at that event here locally. It's one of the great local events, and actually one that's been mimicked and tried to be duplicated across the country, I think, from what I know. Not that I'm a fishing expert, but I like to talk about it. And Paul is the fishing expert, so he'll join us in just a little bit as well. We had some big basketball games last night, so we're getting into February with some of the local basketball teams. We have River City Rumble coming up Saturday, so we'll probably talk a little bit more about JU and UNF on Friday, because that's always a fun one. And JU sits atop the standings, although they had a tough loss last night. UNF got a big win. That would have been a not-so-great loss. It's one of those deals where they blew a lead and then it was able to rally twice, once at the end of regulation and once at the end of overtime to get the win. That was a fun game to call on ESPN Plus last night. Loved doing that. And good win for Coach Matthew Driscoll and the fellas at UNF. Meanwhile, kind of the opposite side at JU, they had a 24-point lead and lost to Florida Gulf Coast. So we'll see if they can regroup on Saturday at Swisher Gym. If you want to go to that River City Rumble, you may want to look it up because, again, it's only about 1,000 seats there. So those tickets go very, very quick. All right, I figured good morning, everybody, by the way, in the chat. Good to have you. Hey, let's you guys can help with the show today. What do you got, questions-wise and everything else? We're going to talk a little bit about Brian Thomas Jr., and because there have been some comments that we really haven't delved into this week yet. It's so far away from the next football season. I always claim to not be an X's and O guy, but I do think the fascination of Coen in a couple of ways of how he'll use him, because he keeps saying this, and you'll always hear this. I mean, we might as well just put the slogan up somewhere, players not plays, which I think people really like, but I think sometimes it's hard for play callers to actually do that. Well, the book on Liam Coen is he really does do that. So we will talk about Brian Thomas Jr. specifically because he's the one guy that you can really draw plays around right now in this Jaguars offense. And maybe, there could be more, but definitely he is the guy. So we'll talk about that. It's interesting. Straight 7 gaming. which is an interesting handle on YouTube. Do you think that Coen will recruit Cortez Hankton from LSU to reunite with BTJ? That's a good one. Is that name being floated around? I haven't seen that. I think we've just seen DC and OC. Have other people floated that around? And if so, I guess it could make some sense. You know, I ran into Cortez Hankton in the hotel in Indianapolis before the season finale. He was there because he was watching Adonai Mitchell, who had coached at Georgia, and also Brian Thomas Jr., who obviously coached at LSU. And so those guys were hanging out in the hallway. He was there with his kids and stuff. It was nice to catch up with Cortez Hankton. I say catch up. I don't know him, but he was playing in Jacksonville before my time here. But he had wonderful things to say. And I don't know if that's the guy they go get. Maybe they would. You know, could they do that? Possibly. I have not seen that. Hamby's Burner praying the DK Metcalf trade rumors are true. Where are the rumors coming from? DK Metcalf, I think, has been rumored on the block for a little bit now in Seattle. And I know people just tie automatically, hey, that would be great, right? Like anytime you do that. Here's what I would say a little bit about that. There were a lot of rumors last year about, who was it? Shoot. Why do I always forget this guy's name? This is like the second time I brought his name up in the last couple weeks, and I forget this guy. San Francisco. He got hurt, though. Ayuk, thank you. Brendan Ayuk. Golly, I always blank on his name. I don't know. I always go to Debo Samuel. It's not Debo Samuel. But Brendan Ayuk, remember all that. The receiving story of last year is fascinating in itself here in Jacksonville. Because they could have got Brandon Ayuk, they could have kept Calvin Ridley, and they end up with Brian Thomas Jr. I mean, is that going to be a story we look back on someday and we're like, wow, what could have been, right?
Yeah.
And so think about the Ayuk stuff, right? Last year we were a little bit excited about that. Think about what we could have been dealing with. And listen, there was some, hey, go get Trevor a weapon. There's common sense to all that stuff. I'm not criticizing. I think we might have been on board with it. I know we're on board with Calvin Ridley coming back. Okay, makes some sense, continuity, all that. You only got 2 years now. We were talking about age and everything else, and we said, hey, there's logic if you could go get a younger guy. Works out handsomely for the Jacksonville Jaguars. But the Ayuk stuff made some sense, too. Like, what the hell? Let's go. All right, you kind of feel like you're a couple pieces away. Well, in hindsight, that would not have been a good move for a couple of reasons. First of all, the Jags weren't a couple pieces away. Secondly, they got a young star receiver, it looks like, in the draft at pick number 23. And thirdly, Ayuk got hurt. Now, who's to say he would have got hurt there, but Ayuk got hurt. So now we get this year. We get T. Higgins mentioned in the chat. We get DK Metcalf. I know there's a lot of Cooper Kupp, not just in the chat, but that's floating around because of obviously the Rams ties. I would say this about Cooper Kupp. I mean, that is way more name than game at this point, it feels like. I mean, the guy's been tremendous. But they weren't even throwing to him in the playoffs. Like, they weren't even looking at him. I don't know if that does much for me. That feels like bringing in Torrey Holt. And Holt was okay. No, and that's what the Jags did. And it's like, okay, it excites you. Does he have a little bit something left? And the bottom line is he was fine for the room and everything else, but he wasn't going to go produce like he did for the Rams. Well, this, ironically, is another Rams receiver. It's just L.A. instead of St. Louis. Like the Cooper Kupp stuff, I'm like, no thanks. That's the way I feel about it. You'd probably get me excited if you want to talk me into it if you were to come here. I just don't see it. Like, I really don't get it. But the Metcalf stuff is exciting, right? The Higgins kind of stuff is exciting. The question is, where do you want to put your dollars? That's something I think we'll talk a little bit more about in roster construction, and we can do it right now, but we'll also talk about it as they get a new GM and as you hit, some of the, the free agency kind of things in the next month and what they're going to do. Well, do you really want to be loaded up at receiver the way they are in terms of dollars and investment? Sure, Brian Thomas Jr., perfect. But Christian Kirk, obviously it's a $24 million cap hit right now. Ingram, who I kind of count in that receiving room. I know you don't technically have to, but I mean, he's about a $13 million hit this year, something like that. You have Gabe Davis, who's not a bad hit. Like, I continue to say this, and I know people aren't fans of Gabe Davis, but go look at his hit this year. It's not bad on the cap. Like, it's actually a very reasonable play in 24 for the Jacksonville Jaguars to hope he has a nice bounce-back season. So are you going to go put a $24 million guy or a $30 million guy in T. Higgins along with this group? Now, you might be able to say, hey, we can do that because we've got the guy on a rookie deal. Or we can do that because what do? You get rid of Kirk? You're not getting rid of Gabe Davis, I don't think. I don't think that makes a lot of sense. I shouldn't say you're not. I don't want to be that adamant about it. They might come in and say, all right, whatever, we're not using him. But I just don't see too much of the logic in spending more money on the receiver position. I actually see a lot more logic in drafting a receiver that's young. And while your quarterback is on his big deal now, you go get receivers that are on rookie deals. To me, that makes a little bit more financial sense, piece of the puzzle kind of sense. Because, again, they are very invested and high dollar right now in their receiving game. From first-round draft pick to big contracts overall. I don't know if you want to do it. Now, they're not as invested as like Miami and maybe even some other teams, potentially as Cincinnati if they keep Higgins. But I think you got to be a little bit careful of where you put your money. And especially because there are receivers everywhere. And honestly, Trevor's supposed to be a guy that can make those receivers even better. Like, how can you find Puka Nacua in the 5th round? You can't plan on that, but you can find Puka Nacua in the 5th round sometimes. So I think we get a little bit carried away with the receiving stuff. I did this a long time ago. And I believe DK Metcalf is a heck of a player and a presence. I think he really makes defenses think. But I'll tell you this now, outside of the last year, because the injuries to Kirk, go look at the numbers between Kirk and Metcalf, and they're not that different. And people are balking at the idea that Kirk got $17 million, and I think Metcalf signed for $24-25 million a year. But the numbers are not that different. Different kind of receiver, I'll give you that. But they're not that different. So really, why spend that kind of money? Are you doing that for a presence? And when you could actually kind of go get the McMillan kid from Arizona, if you really wanted to do that, so much cheaper for a big-bodied guy. So, I mean, probably getting too deep into it, but I like the conversation. And I think we'll get more of the conversation coming up throughout the show because we want to talk a little Brian Thomas Jr. today. And I'll probably wait a little bit for Austin to get in. I want to get his thoughts on that part of it. But I like where you guys are going with the wide receiver stuff. How do you continue to help? So J-Man says T. Higgins would be a good addition. Trade Gabe. Again, I know everybody wants Gabe, but just go look at the cap hits. That's all I'll tell you to do. And you can tell me maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I read it wrong. I'm not a capologist, if you will. He also says Tank Bigsby will have a great season coming. I don't know. I don't know who they're going to feature. I think he likes both backs. They have to figure that out. Brent, what's the word? Tell us without telling us. You got intel. I'll be honest with you. I don't have a ton of intel on this. I think they're really doing their due diligence, and we'll see where it lands in that respect. Hammy's Burner talking about the DK Metcalf stuff. And let's see, what else we got? Oh, the name is a play off of Slot Machine 777s. Okay, cool. Did you win? I hope you won. Let's see what else we got. That's what Chris Godwin on the market. Yeah, see, that's another one. Does Chris Godwin do a lot for you? Maybe a little. Maybe a little. Again, wouldn't hate it, but I'm not sure. I absolutely love it. I thought the clip between Kirk and Coen was interesting. Talking about their mutual friends made me feel like Kirk stays, but we'll see. It's the little things, right? I had actually somebody ask me in his camp, I'll just be honest with you, it wasn't him. But again, I was talking to a lot of different people there at the news, and they said, hey, how's Kirk? What's Kirk? It was kind of an odd question. It was just like they were kind of asking me about the roster. And some of those things. And that doesn't necessarily mean that was coming from him. Maybe it was just their own curiosity. But I just found it kind of interesting. And some of the questions, two things that were interesting in the conversation. It was like, how's Kirk? What's it kind of like a little vetting of Kirk? And then the other one's like, what's the deal with this bulky guy? Why's everybody not like him? That was a legit question from somebody. They didn't fully understand the bulky thing. Which also tells you a little bit outside looking in how that goes. So it was just a little bit of off-camera stuff that happened earlier this week when everybody was kind of doing introductions and we were talking to some of the folks involved with this whole deal here in Jacksonville. Hey, let's do this. Take an early break. Come back, and I want to get some more questions. So if you got some questions, we'll also give you an update on what's the latest. I was thinking about the offensive coordinator job. It doesn't matter in Jacksonville, right? Or maybe it does. And I'll tell you why, even though Coen is going to call plays. We'll have that story coming up. Brent and Austen Show on the Action Sports Jax 24/7 network. We talk a lot of football today. We talk a little bit about the Super Bowl. We talk a little fishing as well, and a lot of Brian Thomas Jr. in this receiving core going forward for Liam Coen and Trevor Lawrence and company. It's on the Action Sports Jax 24/7 network here on a Thursday. Burgers or breakfast, you can get it all at Whataburger. Try something new on the menu or an all-time favorite like the Whataburger Patty Melt.
And now you can have breakfast here at Whataburger 12 hours a day, 11 p.m. until 11 a.m. Menu items like the bacon taquito, sausage taquito, honey butter chicken biscuit. Whether you work the late night shift, just want a snack early in the morning to get your day started, or a little pick-me-up late in the morning, 12 hours a day, breakfast served, 11 p.m. until 11 a.m.
A dozen locations in Jacksonville. You can order pickup or delivery and download the Whataburger app. New rewards members get free Whataburger items when placing their first online order. Just download the app. And for us coffee drinkers, Whataburger has all new hot coffee and iced coffee too. Satisfy that coffee craving at Whataburger 24/7, and it comes in a variety of flavors. Burgers, breakfast, coffee, and so much more. Whataburger, just like you like it.
People helping people. It's at the core of what Alive Credit Union is all about, and it's been that way for over 70 years. From the start in 1954 to today, the mission remains to inspire financial wellness and give you a financially fit lifestyle. Alive Credit Union and its employees are committed to not only serving their valued members, but also our community here in Northeast Florida. I had a chance to see that commitment firsthand as Alive partnered with our Action Sports Jax 24/7 team to bring you Armada men's and women's soccer broadcasts. Inside the 18, it is a shot, and it's a goal! Chloe Chivers! And that connection to the community continues with Alive Credit Union's support of the Police Athletic League of Jacksonville. Alive Credit Union's commitment to our community also involves serving the financial needs of all first responders through the recent merger partnership with City and Police Federal Credit Union. Join the community and become a member of Alive Credit Union today. Find out the many ways you can be inspired in financial wellness at alivecu.coop.
I've been telling you about CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing for a long time now. Their drinking water systems remove up to 99% of contaminants. We've had a Connecticut water softener and drinking water system in our home for more than 7 years. You can see the difference whether you're washing clothes, the dishes, or what I like to do most, fill this up for some coffee every morning, and mostly all day. Remember, if you're not filtering your water, you are the filter. Don't be the filter. Right now, save $1,000 or more when you bundle a Connecticut Premier Softener with a Connecticut K5 drinking water system. The experts at CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing will test your water for free and determine your water score. Don't know your water score? CGC will find out and recommend the appropriate Connecticut water treatment solutions so you can improve it. Call 904-552-1242 or visit cgcwater.com. Ask about our 90-day love it or leave it guarantee. CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing, an authorized independent Connecticut dealer. Florida license number CFC 1432579. Baker Sports is local sports. Uniforms from Pop Warner and Little League to travel ball, high school, and college. They make you look good. They help you play good. Baker Sports has been helping families make memories that will last a lifetime with their Baker's Buckets. We've got a lot of these filled with baseballs and softballs in the garage. I've been throwing batting practice to Ty and Kaylee for years, and also sit on the Baker's Bucket, catching Kaylee while she practices or pitching. Baker Sports is homegrown, and a lot of employees that used to play on local ball fields now work for Baker Sports, now helping you look good, play good, and make memories of your own. Visit bakersport.com to see what Baker Sports can do for you. Custom apparel, Nike, Under Armour, Adidas, embroidery, screen printing, and more. Baker Sports is local sports from Jacksonville to anywhere in the Southeast. bakersport.com. When it's time to get a new car for anyone in your family, just remember, nobody but Nimnick, the #1 Buick GMC dealer in Jacksonville. Get the latest price breaks on 2023 and 2024 models or the newest 2025 vehicles in the showroom on Phillips Highway, or shop online at nimnickbuickgmc.com 24 hours a day. GMC Sierras, Yukons, and the redesigned Acadias, or get the all-new redesigned line with Buicks. It's nobody but Nimnick, and part of the reason why is this is a first-class buying experience here at Nimnick Buick GMC. You're not just a customer, you're a friend. This is about getting a vehicle that best fits you and getting you on the road. and also helping you and your family down the road. Nimnicht has a treating you right guarantee, courtesy, respect, fairness. And most Buicks, GMCs, and Jacksonville's only Car Bravo dealer, nobody but Nimnicht. Who has put in the most years and stands behind a better experience? Nobody but Nimnicht. GMC, we are professional grade.
Welcome back to the Brent and Austen Show, streaming on the Action Sports Jax 24/7 network.
Hey, welcome back here to the Action Sports Jax 24/7 network. Brent Martineau along with Austin Lane, Jason Hamby. Okay, they're not here today. Nick in the daytime is, though. Good to have Nick along, and always fun to hang out with Nick. And Austin will join us a little bit later in the show as we flip to February, which means coming up this weekend, which means fight time getting close. We still can't announce exactly when that fight is, but as he always says, it rhymes with Barch. But the exact date still to come. And that's why he's been training. A lot of training down in South Florida. Probably training will shift to Las Vegas soon for Austin, and hopefully more to come on that. He's definitely working harder than us during these times that he's not on. He's getting punched in the face. So there you go. I believe that Tony should be EVP for the Jags. He has vision, and his desire to see success for the organization is authentic. I love it. J-Man, it's a very good thing. I would invite you to go read an article that I wrote. I love to push that article, actionnewsjax.com. Go back. Jags should be like Detroit. And you will also, if you want to go back to last week's show, and I really should pull this around the Boselli stuff, and I just haven't yet. We did like 20 minutes on why he shouldn't be named EVP. And I just don't believe he should be named EVP. And I actually don't think he's going to be named EVP at this stage. And I don't really know that. I don't really know if anybody knows exactly what Shad's thinking. I think that's crystal clear. But based on what he said, like we're trying to figure out with the league and all that stuff from the news conference, I don't think he's going EVP. And I think that's a good thing. So I have like a whole monologue on why that is. Last week during the show, and I'll try to pull that up and find it as the Tony Boselli news gets a little bit ramped up, because right now we know it's happening, and kind of feels like we've known it's happening for a while. And I give credit to Shad because it feels like he's listening to people about that, whoever that is. And there's been a big push, almost an agenda, I would say, I feel like, inside the building with some to get Tony Boselli involved in the organization. It's not a bad one. Like I agree with it. But I also think there's just, forget about anybody's agenda or, you think Tony should do this, Tony that. The idea of it is the right thing, whether it's Tony or not. And Tony just fits perfectly for the idea of it. And it was interesting. I think I saw Albert Breer mention the Tony stuff, and he's like, kind of the role of Chris Spielman. I was like, yeah, wrote about that like 2 months ago. Like, it is that role. Like, there's importance to it. Don't just be like, there's a reason I wrote it. Because I believe it, and I think the Jags should believe it. What happened in Detroit was a turnaround, and I believe in part because of a guy like Chris Spielman. I don't know how much credit he should get, but I'm going to give him some. And quite frankly, I think that's the role Tony Boselli should have, that you wouldn't know exactly how much credit he should get, because it's kind of a moving goalpost role. So as that heats up and continues to do, and we get some more clarity on it, I think we'll continue to talk about it. But we have talked about it a lot, so I don't want to belabor that with all the folks that have heard it. And we will definitely approach that a little bit more. Delphonic, good morning. Good morning, Cicato83. Was that like a football number or something? What's the worst, Liam Coen, Duvall, or the fact that Urban refused to say it at 9:04 or Duvall? Yeah, you think that was part of the problem with Urban? He's just afraid that he wouldn't say it right. Maybe. I think I saw an Instagram post, I believe, from Liam Cohen's wife, just mentioning how great of a week this was and everything else, and she kind of joked at the end, "Don't worry, we'll get the Duvall thing right." And I thought that was cool. I still think people are missing the context of the Duvall thing, totally. It wasn't his first Duvall. He had already done one in the morning, and he did it right. This was kind of like he was trying to have fun with it. I think everybody knows that, like, that's here in Jacksonville. Nobody knows it outside of Jacksonville, and it's just, why explain it? Just let it go. Just let it run wild. And but it's not like he doesn't know how to do it. We actually had a sit-down with him, and we said, I thought maybe like our promotion team might want it or something like that, so we had him do a Duvall. I should get it and play it. And it was fine. It wasn't like the sing-songy one that he tried to do in the middle of a news conference where it just kind of failed. So, don't worry, his play calling will be better. All right, here's the deal. Are you surprised Press Taylor has a gig? I'm not, by the way. I can't believe the vitriol for Press Taylor here in Jacksonville. Like, I'm surprised by that. The bulky one is on a whatever level. And there's good reason for it. I do think it's on too high of a level. I've always thought that with bulky. And that's why Delphonic makes memes and stuff about it. But the Press Taylor one is fascinating to me because the way I always viewed the Press Taylor thing is that it's Doug's fault that we're talking about Press Taylor. It's not Press Taylor's fault we're talking about Press Taylor. And I think Press Taylor did a lot of good things too on this offense. And there were times I've just never watched the Jags play until these last really 3 years, even in 22, when things did go well. But the previous 14 years of watching the Jags play, I'd never seen so many plays that were available to make by the players that weren't made. Now, players don't make plays all the time. I mean, that happens in games. But it was eye-popping how many plays were there for the Jags to make in 22, 23, and 24 that they didn't. They just didn't make them. And, I mean, I'll bring you a couple of plays that really stand out in my mind. And most recently, the Houston game. In Houston in week 4, that was. They were already 0-3. And that was the one that really miffed Peterson because Trevor missed too many plays. I mean, you pay the guy in the offseason, and then he misses just some easy plays for a quarterback, maybe any of them, but especially a guy that's making that kind of money. And he misses those down-the-field plays, and you're like, well, that changes the game. They lost in the final 18 seconds, I think it was, of that. And how do you blame the play caller for that? Well, I kind of I think that's why Doug got so mad at me in that news conference. And in hindsight, I kind of get it. Because if they hit on a couple of plays, we're not talking about that. Of course, that question, if you go back to it, that news conference, that was more about, do you have to just change something up because nothing is working in terms of winning? It wasn't necessarily about that game day's plays. Because actually, I thought they called a good game. And actually, Doug said that. Doug was like, why? He called a good game. And I don't disagree with him. It was more just, well, first of all, they're not playing as well with that guy calling plays. So maybe just change something. Or just change to change sake. And this is an easy change. You call plays because you probably should have been doing it anyway. So there was that game. And then I go back to the Tennessee game. I think it was the end game last year where they lost, 2 years ago, to miss the playoffs. And in a desperation mode, while 3rd down and 1 and 4th down and 1 weren't good on the goal line, if you remember that sequence, they draw up a play, and I'll give Press Taylor credit because he called it, to get Calvin Ridley open down the field. And Ridley doesn't catch the ball. Now, I've talked to a lot of players about that play, and it was like, well, Trevor just missed, and Calvin just maybe slowed down. Calvin thought he slowed down on that play during the route. And if he just kept going the whole time, he would have had it. And that would have been an unbelievable play in the time if you remember the one I'm talking about. I think they lose 28-20 in that game, and they had like nothing left in terms of time. They needed a home run ball. And it's like, how would you have beaten the defense in that play? It was the perfect play. So these are instances where I just think Press did way better than people want to give him credit for. I also think I'm not faulting Press Taylor because it's Doug's fault that Press Taylor was calling plays. So it always deferred back to Doug for me. Like, if you have a problem with Press, that's Doug's fault. If Press doesn't call a game, that's Doug's fault. Good game, that's Doug's fault. Like, that's the way I looked at it. And the reason is because Doug should have been calling plays the whole time. So, I don't know. I mean, you guys probably heard me say that before, but that's my view of Press Taylor. So I don't really get why there's so much angst around Press Taylor. Was he helping run an offense that people now think is predictable and stale and all that? Well, fair enough if that's the case. But I still think that's Doug's offense too. Like, this is kind of Doug's offense. So any of the blame should defer back to Doug. And now he goes to Chicago. He's going to be a passing game coordinator. I've heard something interesting about I found this line interesting, whoever was reporting on it. It said, he'll work with the coaching staff more, like Ben Johnson and whoever is Declan, somebody, whoever his OC is, and really less with the players. So more putting together the game plan and everything else with and I don't know if that's that common. I just found that pretty interesting. Passing game coordinator, he's going to work with the coaches more than the players. I don't even know what that actually means day to day, but I found that interesting. So pretty ironic that Ben Johnson, the guy everybody wanted, goes to Chicago and then brings in Press Taylor. But we shouldn't be surprised. And would he have brought Press Taylor back if he was in Jacksonville? That would have been fascinating. And I don't know the answer to that. We really think Mark Brunell would have come down to Jacksonville with Ben Johnson. Mark Brunell is not coming over to Chicago with Ben Johnson. So did that dynamic change because of who you hired? Would that have ruled Press Taylor out? Would he have been able to stay in a different role? Continuation to work with Trevor under contract, for Shad Khan. I doubt it would have happened that way, but it's not surprising that it ends up happening because these guys all find a home eventually and they land somewhere. And he's 2 years ago when the Jags were going to the playoffs, he was 1 year away from maybe being in these interviews for a head coach. He was 1 year away of good football by the Jags. And by the way, he was 1 month away. The Jags were 8-3 playing for a top seed. If they finish out that season healthy and they finish out that season and they make another playoff run, a win, heck, 2 wins, Press Taylor is Ben Johnson, Liam Coen, Kevin O'Connell, Zach Taylor, his brother. He's that guy. Like, he's that guy and he's not exactly Ben Johnson because Ben Johnson's calling the plays, but he's very much like O'Connell and even Liam Coen in L.A. That McVay it's his offense, but these guys are underneath him. So, that's how close he is to being like a head coach, and he's a young guy still. I think if he rebounds nice in Chicago, he's going to get opportunities down the road to be a head coach. This is long from over for Press Taylor, but he was that close to being that guy here in Jacksonville. Remember, Baltimore, I think, wanted to come get him, and they blocked him because it was a similar job, much like what's going on with the offensive line coach in Tampa. Because you can't block if it's a promotion, but you can if it's a similar job. And Doug did that. And I think so much of that was, hey, you guys got to give me 2 years so we can get some continuity around this quarterback. And they did. I think the one guy that did leave was Jim Bob Cooter, because I think he might have got the OC job. I think he is in Indianapolis. Again, you can't stop that. So I don't get all the angst around Press Taylor as much as it really beefed up. I do think Doug put him in that spot, but if you have problems with Press Taylor, then I would say you should have a problem with Doug Peterson. And maybe you do, but I just feel like it's less about Press. So here's my defense of Press Taylor, which I've had before. Let's see some of the comments in here. Didn't they drop 3 touchdowns that game also? Are you talking about the Tennessee one or the Houston one? Probably Tennessee. They might have. Listen, there are videos from 23 especially, and probably could make another one here in 24, of about 70-plus points that are just missed. And I don't know how that is compared to other teams, but it feels like a lot of points, like easy kind of plays. So, yeah. John says he's a good coach. It's not a play caller. He never called plays. Press learned incredible survival skills from Balky. Survived 2 Doug Peterson firings. That dynamic someday in a book will come out, I got to believe. Chad says, let us have a problem with both. Okay, you can. Yeah, listen, I'm not trying to defend. I'm not his agent. I mean, he's a big boy. He'll be able to figure it out if you want to have a problem with him. I just never did as much. I never got there. I can get there with the bulky stuff and what it represents and all that. I think the press stuff seems to be a little bit over the top. And again, there's just too many plays out there where these guys didn't make. And that happened in 22 as well. I just remember asking Doug so many times, I'm like, man, that play was there. That play was there. That play was there. And these guys just wouldn't make the play. And even though they did a lot of good things, they still wouldn't make enough of those kind of plays. Do you think Press Taylor gets some type of nepotism through the league because of his brother's pedigree? You know, I don't think so. I think the one thing they had to be careful about, and I thought about this to your question. I mean, listen, maybe you're right. Maybe it does happen, right? Did Lane Kiffin get that? Dad? Like, we got plenty of examples of that. Shanahan's. That doesn't mean you're not a good football coach, right? I thought about this. The one thing they probably couldn't do is Cincinnati couldn't go hire him, because that would have been a little obvious. So I think it was important that he landed in another spot, and that's what he did do. So anyway, that's the latest on Press Taylor. Okay, but what about the offensive coordinator? And so I was thinking of this. As Liam Coen is trying to build his staff, and you're looking at offense coordinator, there's a part of me that's like, well, really, who gives a damn who his offense coordinator is? First of all, we're not. If you really know these guys, other than looking them up on Wikipedia and their pro football reference, whatever resume, God bless you. But we're all kind of in the same, like, yeah, this guy's pretty good. What did Nick say to me today? The latest guy out of the Rams,
Tavita Pritchard, I think.
Pritchard.
Yeah,
Did he coach for the Rams?
I don't know about the Rams.
No, that was the wheelhouse or the shieldhouse guy. But you said he was at Stanford. Pritchard was at Stanford.
He was at Stanford with him, and then he is like last year and this past season in Washington.
In Washington, that's right. My bad. So, but you said Stanford, the guy he had was Davis Mills.
Yeah.
And so obviously they're around Jaden Daniels this past year. And so, listen, I'm all for the folks that are like, yeah, this guy's great. He's the next best thing. I have no idea. I say this all the time. I'm not going to pretend to know. If you bring in Chip Kelly, I can tell you how I feel about Chip Kelly. There's a resume there, right? But so I'm thinking all along, I'm like, well, does it really matter? Like, fine, okay, we'll trust Liam Coen. But he's the guy calling the plays, so it doesn't matter if he's your offensive coordinator. And then I thought, you know what? It probably matters a little bit more than we think. Like I was saying, Press Taylor, even in year one, in 22 with Doug, was on his way maybe to climbing the ladder. Look at the McVay tree. Well, McVay's really the guy doing the play stuff, but O'Connell gets a gig. And look what he's done with Minnesota. Liam Coen, the reason why he went to Kentucky is because he wasn't calling plays, even though he was named OC in the Rams 3 years ago. But look where he is now. So there is some significance. Like these coaches who almost like look like they're an OC in name only, have really found their way. So maybe it's a bigger hire than I even will think that it is at face value, because these guys are moving on and really have been pretty good coaches. Zach Taylor, by the way, is another one. I think Zach Taylor he's got an interesting resume if you go back and look at it, because he was actually like QB coach with the Rams and then got the Bengals job, but he had been the OC with the Bengals years prior. So he had called plays before as an OC, but then when he got the job from Cincinnati, obviously they had familiarity with him, but he was really the QB coach, I think, at that time with the Rams. So the McVay tree is just fascinating because you know it's McVay's offense, but these guys are still having success, even if they're not necessarily running their offense with the Rams. But I think that's why there's some significance here. If Liam Coen can bring some of that over, if he can have the same success as the Taylors and the O'Connells and others. Well, now you do look at those OCs as well and some of their staff. It's like, okay, now you start building your tree out. Can you produce some of these guys? Can you find the next big talent coming up? So I kind of like that part. I think that's fun. And we'll see where they land, and you just trust where they land. I just don't think the guy that ends up being here is going to have a crazy resume a la Chip Kelly, because it's not going to be his offense. So it makes no sense that Kelly would actually come to Jacksonville in that role unless he was just so close to Coen that he wanted to help him along the way. And even Kelly, I don't think, is at that point of his career where he's just like, hey, I'm going to come help you out. So I think I think that OC hire is pretty interesting. I think the QB coach is interesting. Obviously, everybody's got a passing game coordinator now. So is he going to find some studs that we're going to learn about that eventually in 2 years, if they have success, they're going to be the next hot thing? Because you'd love to get to that point. I think that's one thing that's missed with maybe not the Rams organization because now we've seen it, but it's missed with an organization like Tampa. I think it took us until this process and cycle to kind of appreciate the Bucs organization and what they've built. Sure, they went to the Super Bowl, won the Super Bowl with Brady, so everybody gives Brady credit, but it's deeper than that. From liked to spy tech to some of the front office guys. Like when your right-hand man at the GM spot has been there for 9 years and now he is a hot name to get a job and he gets one with the Raiders. Like the Jags can't figure out their number one guy. Forget about their number two guy. So can the Jags start to build that? I think that's a hidden part of this. Can they build a tree? Can they plant a tree here in Jacksonville that you now have people picking from your organization? And that's really where we want to get this thing to in Jacksonville, because that would be sustained success. Nobody's picking off your tree from 1 year. But you start doing it for 3, 4, 5 years, that's really the ultimate goal. They pick off the Baltimore tree. They pick off the Philadelphia tree. Pick off the Rams tree. Right? Because they are producing winners after winners after winners. And then you're like, I want a piece of that. They tried it forever with the New England stuff. Didn't really work. But I think that's the ultimate goal is by the end of the decade, really, by the time you open that stadium, do you have people calling Shad Khan and others trying to raid the pantry? And that would be the ultimate goal of, and maybe the ultimate complement of some sustained success. And I don't think it takes like crazy sustained success. It's not the Chiefs. And that's another one, by the way, in this example. But the Bucs, I mean, they've gone to the playoffs last couple of years. It's been a little bit since they won the Super Bowl. And again, that was so Brady-led. So you don't have to be like in the Super Bowl every year, raising Lombardi trophies for people to respect what you're doing as an organization. Take Baltimore. They've won what? One Super Bowl in the last 25 years? And everybody still views that whole thing as a good operation. It'd be cool if the Jags can get there. Let's do this. Take a time out here on the Brent and Austen Show, here on the Action Sports Jax 24/7 network. We'll get to some Brian Thomas Jr. conversation still to come. What is the latest with the Jags? We also have Eric Armstead. We caught up with him yesterday. So it was really the first reaction from a player on new coach Liam Coen. And tonight, it's the first Duvall, as they say, at the stadium. If you're heading out there, we'll see you out there, 6 p.m. until 8 p.m. We'll meet and greet with the new head coach. There'll be some other festivities going on at the stadium. But make sure you go to Jaguars.com, by the way, to sign up for that. You do have to register and sign up if you're going to be a part of it. Brent Martineau, Nick Petty as well. Austin Lane joins us in just a little bit. We're going to talk some fishing coming up, too, on the show, but a lot of football still to come, including a little bit of an early breakdown of the Chiefs and Eagles in Super Bowl 59, still more than a week away. It's the Brent and Austen Show on the Action Sports Jax 24/7 network.
When it's time to get a new car for anyone in your family, just remember, nobody but Nimnick, the #1 Buick GMC dealer in Jacksonville. Get the latest price breaks on 2023 and 2024 models or the newest 2025 vehicles in the showroom on Phillips Highway or shop online at NimnickBuickGMC.com 24 hours a day. GMC Sierras, Yukons, and the redesigned Acadias, or get the all-new redesigned line with Buicks. It's nobody but Nimnick, and part of the reason why is this is a first-class buying experience here at Nimnick Buick GMC. You're not just a customer, you're a friend. This is about getting a vehicle that best fits you and getting you on the road, and also helping you and your family down the road. Nimnick has a treating you right guarantee, courtesy, respect, fairness, and most Buicks, GMCs, and Jacksonville's only Car Bravo dealer, nobody but Nimnick. Who has put in the most years and stands behind a better experience? Nobody but Nimnick GMC. We are professional grade.
Happy New Year for the UNF Ospreys, and basketball season is in the teeth of conference play right now. A slow start for the men's team out of the gates with 3 straight losses, but then they broke through in the win column with a win over Bellarmine. The offense scored 98 points in that one. A long way to go, including a stretch the next few weeks with a chance to go on a winning streak. 8 home games in the next 3 weeks for the men's and women's basketball team combined. So check out UNFOspreys.com for the latest in news, schedules, results, and tickets. UNF Arena is a great place to watch a game, so go check them out. And while the hoop teams are battling some snow while on the road, the spring sports season has already arrived with the men's tennis program notching its first win under new coach John Collins. Swoop with the Ospreys in the winter and the spring, inside and outside. Check out UNFOspreys.com for all things Ospreys. I've been telling you about CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing for a long time now. Their drinking water systems remove up to 99% of contaminants. We've had a Connecticut water softener and drinking water system in our home for more than 7 years. You can see the difference whether you're washing clothes, the dishes, or what I like to do most, fill this up for some coffee every morning, and mostly all day. Remember, if you're not filtering your water, you are the filter. Don't be the filter. Right now, save $1,000 or more when you bundle a Connecticut Premier Softener with a Connecticut K5 drinking water system. The experts at CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing will test your water for free and determine your water score. Don't know your water score? CGC will find out and recommend the appropriate Connecticut water treatment solutions so you can improve it. Call 904-552-1242 or visit cgcwater.com. Ask about our 90-day love it or leave it guarantee. CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing, an authorized independent Connecticut dealer. Florida license number CFC 1432579.
When it comes to trucks, I know exactly what I want. And at Bozard Ford, they make it easy to get exactly that. Let's go make this truck a little more my style. With Bozard Built, I can create my perfect truck right here. Lift kit? Check. Premium wheels? You bet. Advanced lighting package? Oh yeah. The Bozard team works their magic. From bumper to tailgate, I'm making this truck mine. It's everything that I wanted and more. From the field to the gym to weekend adventures. This truck's built for my journey. Bozard Built. Customized for your lifestyle, built to exceed your expectations. Check out the inventory and available options at bozardbuilt.com. Unleash your dream ride. Customized, covered, and Bozard approved.
New to town or always been in town? Everyone is always looking for a good pizza place. Our place is Donato's Pizza. We love it and still do love it. When I tell my family I've come into Donato's, they say, wait a minute, you got to order some for us. So this is not all for me. Let me tell you what the Martinos get when we put an order in. Well, pepperoni pizza, we usually get more than one of these. And then there's the works, a little bit of everything. And then this is the pizza that can be polarizing for some out there. I don't know why. Hawaiian pizza. Some love it, some don't. At Donato's, you're going to love it, especially with that cinnamon sprinkled on top. Try the pizza my family likes or try your favorite. Right now, you can use the code BRENT20 and get 20% off your order. Every viewer and listener is important to us, and at Donato's Pizza, every piece is important. From fresh ingredients to the dedicated team members and you, the valued customer. Donato's Pizza, where every piece comes together for a winning combination. Jack's Beach and Mandarin locations. Donato's Pizza. Every piece is important.
Welcome back to the Brent and Austen Show, streaming on the Action Sports Jax 24/7 network.
Hey, we got the Jacksonville Iceman on MyTV Jax tomorrow night. So second game in the last week that we're showing on TV. You can go down the arena tomorrow and check out Savannah and the Iceman play at 7 o'clock, or you can watch it on TV on MyTV Jax 30.2 if you have the 30.2 if you have the antenna, or you can find it on Xfinity, AT&T, Uverse, DirecTV, Dish TV as well. That is the Jacksonville Iceman tomorrow night, 7 o'clock on MyTV Jax. We'll carry a couple more games. March 1st is the next one after this week. So it's been fun to be able to broadcast some of the Iceman games with our Action Sports Jax and TV platforms as well. But again, go ahead and watch them play tomorrow. Love for you to go down to the arena, JacksonvilleIceman.com, the place to go. If you haven't seen an Iceman game, they're a lot of fun. And they're pretty good, too. So we are getting into the time of season where they want to turn it on a little bit, and we'll see if they're able to make a run for the Kelly Cup this year. They've knocked on that door. Just haven't been able to get by those darn Florida Everblades. the last few years. Brent Martineau, along with Austin Lane, who will join us at the bottom of the hour, at the 11 o'clock hour, that is. Nick in the daytime with us here on this Thursday. We haven't had Nick in a bit, but where are you headed? You going, you're heading out of Dodge after this show, right?
Yeah, back Chattanooga. I got a wedding this weekend I got to go to. So we're going to leave out 1 o'clock, hopefully be on the road by 2.
A little wedding practice for you.
Yeah, a little bit.
You got to observe.
Yeah, it's a first time for me. First time endeavor altogether to go to a wedding. So this will be fun. This will be interesting.
How old are you?
26.
It's your first wedding you're going to go to?
Yeah.
Dude does it again. You always deliver.
A lot of firsts. First rehearsal dinner, first wedding, lots of firsts with this whole thing. Fun time, though. It's exciting.
So I wonder now, I'm trying to think if I went to a wedding before I got married, like the year, like I knew I was going to get married, and I doubt it because we're very young. So, like, I wonder if you'll be a little bit nervous watching the whole process.
Well, I am a groomsman, so it'll
yeah,
be
you're in. You're really in it.
Yeah.
Who is this? A friend, family?
It's a friend from back home. It's a good buddy of mine I used to work with in TV back home.
I'm still having a little bit of a hard time. Like, how rare is this that you haven't been to a wedding? Does anybody get married in your family?
I mean,
without prying too much.
Well, okay, I've quote unquote been to weddings, not full-fledged weddings. My brother got married in a courthouse in Ringgold, Georgia. Fun fact. Same place Dolly Parton got married.
Really? That's pretty cool.
Random fact, but there you go.
That was a quick thing?
So that's where he got married. I had another brother get married on a cruise ship, but I was like 7. I don't remember it really.
That's fair.
Otherwise, I've not been to a wedding because all of my brothers are married or have been married and divorced and married again or whatever. I just didn't go or wasn't invited or whatever. And of the friend group, he's the first one that's gotten married that I've actually gotten an invite.
Well, and that part's fair.
Yeah.
At 26, that's about the time. Now you're going to go to a bunch of them probably.
Yeah.
Like the wedding. Amy's Burns says you haven't been to a formal wedding, so that's not that's not uncommon. Really?
Yeah, and the formal thing is really throwing me off. Like I got a tux rental for the wedding, but we've got the rehearsal dinner tomorrow night or Friday night. Yeah.
Well, I do get that part. Like being a groomsman and that kind of thing. Like that's a little bit different.
Yeah.
Where you do have to go get fitted and the tux and all the stuff that goes into that. But you just haven't been to many weddings anyway. And it sounds like Hamby's birth. Maybe that's more common than I think. I mean, I was married at 22, so I was in my own wedding at that point. But I just feel, and maybe I guess it just depends how big families are. And it really wasn't I don't remember family wedding going to, but I do feel like friends of family or something like that I had been to even before.
Yeah.
But maybe it's not as abnormal as I think. It's just hard to think back to that time. And plus, like, now you get to like 28, 29, 30. Like, Liv has 16 weddings on her board for this year. She's got them, like, she seriously has, I think, 3 weddings she's going to.
Shoot.
Of course, in football season, Liv. Like, I think she's going to New Orleans. I think another one's like, I can't even remember. Like Arizona or something like that. And then she's got one already on the board for February of next year in India.
Jeez.
Going to India for a wedding. Like,
wow.
This younger generation, like, I get hey, once in a while I get a friend that's going on like a destination wedding. No, now you guys have every friend that goes on a destination wedding. Do you guys have any respect for people that work or don't have a lot of money? Like, every wedding you guys go to, you must drop like $2,500 to go on vacation for it.
It's nuts.
It's crazy.
My fiance had one. She had a friend that was going to get married, I think, in like Washington State. Moved that from Washington State to Hawaii, and then it bumped. It's like well over $1,500, $2,000 to go.
Of course it is.
And we're like, love you and all, but here's a present. That's all I can do
don't
right
understand those unless you want to keep it like small. Because
I think that's what her friend did.
I think
but even then.
I mean, listen, I miss so many weddings now, like in the family. All the cousins get, because we're on the older side, my sisters and I. And so I've missed a lot because they all get married in like August, September. So, and I feel kind of bad for it because I went to my own wedding. It sucked. But I feel bad for not going
Yeah.
Especially because a lot of my family went to my wedding. Like, they came out to Ohio to go to the wedding. Like, they made, and that was, obviously, you got to do that. Steph's from Ohio. You know, I'm from Rhode Island. So you knew people were going to have to come out, but they were very nice to come out. Like, I wouldn't have blamed them if they didn't come out.
Rhode Island to Ohio is not that bad.
No, it's not bad, but it's still like an investment.
Yeah.
An investment of time and a little more than just going an hour away or 40 minutes away or 10 minutes down the road, right? Yeah. So, like that, I always kind of felt bad for that part, even though what are you going to do about it?
Yeah.
But it was very nice they go. And now, like, for me to go back home to Rhode Island just to pop in at a wedding is almost impossible, mostly because they all get married in, like, August, September when football season starts. But I actually did make it a couple of years ago to one of the latest ones, and it was great to be able to go. But I had missed, like, a ton of them. But now all these destination weddings, I just feel like it's a lot to ask.
It kind of is.
For people to, like, hey, come down to Puerto Rico. But I think the idea of it might be, we don't want a lot of you down here in Puerto Rico, right? So it's like, hopefully a lot of you say no.
Yeah, and that might be a way. But I get at the same time, it's like it is a lot to ask, and those who are invited that want to come and will make it will get there. But really, like, it is about the bride and groom, it being their day, and they can just have whatever they want. Like, for us, we're getting married just outside Chattanooga in December. And I kind of made the one rule. I said, we can get married at any point in time, just not from X to X, which was going to be the SEC college season. Now,
very good.
The 7th, which is a Sunday, falls the day after December 6th, would be, I think, the SEC championship game. Not saying Tennessee's making it, slim chance. But, you know, I was like, we can get married anywhere in the year. And actually, the way that we picked the date came about pretty funny. She wanted an April wedding.
Okay.
But the venue that we've got booked was booked for Ohio. Not Ohio. I'm looking at the chat here and it's throwing me off. It was booked for April.
Okay.
We're in line at Disney World at Magic Kingdom to see Winnie the Pooh. And I just throw it because, like, she's real sad and she's starting to cry. I was like, all right, hold on. Just imagine this December white wedding, white chapel, and all this. Like, it's a really pretty December wedding. It doesn't really snow in Tennessee in early December, but there's a chance. Lo and behold, the 2-year anniversary is the 7th on the 7th on a Sunday in December, so it worked out perfect. And it was available, so we booked it.
That's what you're doing. All right.
You know, fate has its
By the way, not only that, you got to, I mean, the bottom line is you got to go when it's available.
Yeah.
That becomes a really tricky thing. I mean, sometimes people have to put it off 18 months to go whenever for that venue.
Some people are booking the venue now well into, like, early 2026.
Yeah, that's
just insane.
It is pretty crazy, especially the popular ones. Hamby's Burner says, funny guy said, I'm in the same situation. Buddy with a wedding upcoming November, 7-day cruise destination wedding, $1,500 a person. I'm going to have to go to just go to the day of and get off. He's just going to go for the day and get off.
Well,
just go. Can you just fly to the island and go to the wedding?
No, I think the wedding 7-day cruise is the wedding on the boat, though, because my brother got married in Jacksonville on a boat.
He got married on the cruise ship.
Yeah, while it was docked. So we came for the wedding while it was docked. Then we got off the boat and the boat set sail because we didn't go on the cruise. Now, that's something you could do. You could not take the 7-day cruise and just go to the wedding and leave, depending on where it's like, you know, it's docked at and that.
That's wild. So, speaking of weddings, I brought this up earlier this week, but I thought it went a little bit probably under the radar. I think it's wild that Liam Coen is actually going on his honeymoon. He's been married for like 5 years. He's going on the honeymoon this year. Well, that's how crazy his life has been.
Well, he's been to L.A. to Kentucky, back to L.A., back to Kentucky, then to Tampa, now to Jacksonville. But he's been in, 6 different time zones in 7 cities or whatever it is? Yeah, 5 years on the coaching grind. To get where you want to be, I can respect it.
Yeah, and to do that, you have to do that, right? So you obviously, your wife makes a big commitment. She follows along and all that. And then I can see why he was wrestling with the idea. He said family was a big part of, hey, I'm just going to stay in Tampa, because they had basically said, hey, we can take a breath. We're going to be in Tampa now. And then all of a sudden the Jags come calling and everything else. But he's like, wait a minute. We still can go take a breath, go on vacation, be on the beach right now, get a little time off, whatever it is, do Italy, do Rhode Island, do all these things, and I get a bump up. Okay, that makes everybody happy. Like, am I going to ask my wife to move again? And I'll tell you this, his dad had just moved up to the Tampa area 6 months ago. So he's probably thinking in his mind, like, okay, my dad just moved here. My wife's been following me for the last 4 years. We haven't even hit our honeymoon yet, and we got married 5 years ago. We got a couple of kids. Maybe this is best to just, like, stay here for a little bit. This opportunity will come up again. I think that would wrestle with you. Like, everybody can point to just the bulky stuff, but I think that's a legit thing. If you put yourself in his situation, that, yeah, we might want to stay in the same zip code. Same mailing address. Mm-hmm. Well, actually, you could probably change your mailing address if you were about to get $4.5 million. But, I get it. And then he's like, okay, wait a minute. That's a good idea. Make everybody happy, but this is too hard to pass up. And that was part of the thought process that he told us how it changed for him last week in reconsidering for this job. And so they are going to take their honeymoon apparently this year. He had mentioned to Italy. So we'll see if he's able to do that or if something else gets in the way. But you do have a little bit more time to do things like that in the NFL. If you do that in late June or early July. And
I was about to say, when's the window that he could do that? Because I don't really know the NFL schedule that well as far as like what coaches are needed for. I know OTAs are like early in the year, then you report for training camp.
I would suspect he wouldn't do it. Like April 7th, I think, is the date that they can kind of start working. Mm-hmm. And before that, you've got the league year, and you've got owners' meetings, and you've got free agency, and then you've got getting ready for the draft. So all the way through April, you're done. Well, then right away, you've got rookie minicamp and OTAs, and then through mid-June, you have like mandatory minicamp. So right when that ends, late June, probably to mid-July, you've got about a month there where you can really go.
You just go spend a month in Italy.
Now, you're probably still doing some things and getting ready, but you've got a solid 4 or 5 weeks where you can go probably for a couple of weeks and get out of Dodge. And I assume that's when they'll do that. Let's get out of Dodge for a moment here. Let's take a break. We come back. We'll talk about a big fishing tournament coming up. Paul Dozier sitting in with us, and then Austin Lane joins us at 11:30. We still have some things on the docket. Pro Bowl. Should it even happen anymore? Chiefs, Eagles. Take an early look at that. And Brian Thomas Jr., how will Liam Coen use that weapon? Because he's very good at identifying the weapons and then using those guys. He's been that in his career. Will he do that in Jacksonville? What will he do with BTJ? That's on the way here on the Brent and Austen Show on a Thursday on the Action Sports Jacks 24/7 network. It's one of the hot spots in the area.
Welcome you to String Sports Brewery out at the beach. Big crowd on hand tonight. The fans are here.
And now the newest hot spot at the beach is open. String Sports Brewery in Jacks Beach has opened its doors with rave reviews.
We're going to be fans forever.
Duvall! Cozy up to the bar. Grab a seat in the sports-themed restaurant. Or grab a seat outside and feel that breeze coming off the beach as the weather warms. Just like the original location in Springfield, try the popular beer menu and come for lunch or dinner too, because the food is fantastic. He's got some exciting news heading into 2025 as well. Christian Kirk. It's where we hosted Jags Report Live in the football season, and the String Sports Brewery staff can't wait to host you. Hey, welcome back here to String Sports Brewery. And if you haven't checked out the new location in Jacks Beach, which many of you have, you got to do it. String Sports Brewery, now with 2 locations in Springfield and now open in Jacks Beach on Penman Road.
2024 provided plenty of memorable moments for the Jacksonville Armada on the pitch, including another conference championship game appearance for Tommy Kruzanovich's under-23 men's team.
They sit in the dying moments.
Debuting this year for the first time, the girls in blue, as the Armada fielded a women's under-23 side in the WPSL and made its presence known with some highlight moments.
Potential goal of the season.
Then attention turned to the future, with MLS Next teams representing the Armada badge in 3 age divisions this fall, including an under-19 squad ranking among the best in the state. Those teams are a big focus on Fleet and Footy, covering the big soccer stories each week on the Action Sports Jacks 24/7 network.
I'll put one in the back of the net for you.
Join us for player profiles, fun interviews, and the very latest on the Fleet and all things footy. That's every Thursday at 2 p.m.
You trust CGC to make your water great, and now you can trust CGC with your plumbing needs as well. Fast, convenient scheduling, licensed and insured. A quick call away at 904-552-1242.
You never know when you're going to have an issue with a shower, toilet, or maybe it's a sink that sometimes is easy to fix. All right, let's be honest. I'm not fixing anything. I'm totally staging this because when I have a plumbing problem, I call CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing.
Trained professionals, transparent pricing, customer satisfaction. Small problem or even a bigger issue. Right now, save 10% off a new Rinnai tankless water heater. The experts with 25 years of experience at CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing can do it all. Call 904-552-1242 or visit cgcwater.com. For a limited time, CGC is waiving the trip charge on all related plumbing calls. CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing, an authorized independent Connecticut dealer. Florida license number CFC 1432579.
Here on Spring Sports Media Day on Action Sports Jack.
It's an opportunity, an education beyond the classroom and the sports arena. Life skills, testing skills, social skills. It's called High School 912, a program focused on maximizing the growth of students in academics, sports, and life. And here's your chance to get involved. If you're a local business, or if you just want to make a donation to help support programs like ACT and SAT boot camps, career days, Leadership Academy, Financial Literacy Academy, and so much more.
Another Nice High School Panther, Jack Cole.
High School 912 supports and hosts high school sporting events and several media days throughout the year. For more information on how you can get involved, visit jackshighschool912.com.
Baker Sports is local sports. Uniforms from Pop Warner and Little League to travel ball, high school, and college. They make you look good. They help you play good. Baker Sports has been helping families make memories that will last a lifetime with their Baker's Buckets. We've got a lot of these filled with baseballs and softballs in the garage. I've been throwing batting practice to Ty and Kaylee for years, and also sit on the Baker's Bucket, catching Kaylee while she practices or pitching. Yeah! Baker Sports is homegrown, and a lot of employees that used to play on local ball fields now work for Baker Sports, now helping you look good, play good, and make memories of your own. Visit Bakersport.com to see what Baker Sports can do for you. Custom apparel, Nike, Under Armour, Adidas, embroidery, screen printing, and more. Baker Sports is local sports from Jacksonville to anywhere in the Southeast. Bakersport.com.
Welcome back to the Brent and Austen Show, streaming on the Action Sports Jax 24/7 network.
Hey, welcome back here to the network studio. Brent Martineau along with Paul Dozier. Paul Dozier, we're going to talk some fishing right now. We love having Paul in, and it is that time of year. It finally feels like that time of year. I don't know if you had this tournament coming up a couple of weeks ago, we'd be as excited about it. Austin Lane going to join us at the bottom of the hour. He's down at Fight Camp in South Florida. We'll talk a little more football. Brian Thomas Jr., the Super Bowl, also the Pro Bowl, should we even have it anymore. Nick hanging out with us as well. Shout out to Dawn Lopez, too, as it is her last day here with Action News Jax. We took a picture a couple months ago, Mike Burish, Dawn Lopez, and me. We were doing the evening news because I never really do a newscast with Dawn because she's always working in the mornings and has been on the mornings for a long time, and the noon show right after Price is Right. So everybody in town knows her because that's a highly rated show right there, coming after the Price is Right for years. But she was filling in at night, and Dawn and Burish have been here the longest on air here at Action News Jax. Like 20 plus years. And then I'm third, believe it or not. 17 years coming up March 1st.
Wow.
So we got us all together. I didn't know, like a month later, she'd be out of here.
Yeah.
So that was we wish her well, and she's obviously done a lot for Action News Jax, CBS 47, and Fox 30. And you do a lot for the fishing community. I don't know about for Action News Jax, but you can do a lot for Action Sports Jax 24/7 network and talk some fishing. What's happening?
Yeah, we're doing great, buddy. You're right about the weather. Thank goodness this week's a lot better than last week. Golly, I thought we were living up in your native land there, buddy.
It's unbelievable how it's been. We're getting 80s today.
Yeah.
And what has the fishing been like? Are people still going out the last month?
Yeah, fishing has been kind of up and down. Some boats fished yesterday, and there was a couple nice fish caught. There was a 96-pound wahoo caught yesterday, which is a world-class fish.
Yeah.
The fishing was really good in December and November, and it seems to have slacked off a little bit, but that's normal. January's never red hot, and then it'll, I kind of look at our kickoff party, which is Saturday at the St. Augustine Rod and Gun Club, as the kickoff of spring. Sure, we're going to get another cold snap or two, but as you mentioned, it looks like 70s, high 60s, 70s, and 80s is the highs for the next 15 days. If you do that, you string a little bit of that together. Next thing you know, it's March, and then it is spring, and then we're TPC and all that stuff.
Yeah, so we're here, and you've got the Miller Lite Wahoo kickoff party coming up on Saturday. People are probably itching to do this, right, and get out. Like you're gonna have some energy around there, get ready to go fishing.
The Wahoo Shootout kickoff party, like I mentioned, is kind of the kickoff of spring, and you get all these guys that have had pent up demand and frustration and the holidays and Christmas parties and hunting season, and they haven't seen all their fishing buddies. Well, hunting season's over, the holidays are over, and obviously we can move into fishing season. So everybody gets together, talks about what they've been doing the last 9 months, and off we go. It's a good time, and it's unique to other fishing tournaments because usually you go to a captain's meeting and kickoff party, you got to get up at 4 o'clock tomorrow morning and go fishing. And this one, we don't start fishing until the following weekend. So, it's unique. Everybody has a good time. It's 4 to 8. We'll have some live music, good food, good drinks, and it's a great time. Huge raffle. And the public's invited, too, if you're not doing anything. St. Augustine Rod and Gun Club, right by the St. Augustine Airport. It's a great time, lots of vendors and whatnot.
I'm going to try to make it over for it. I got to work that night, but might be down in the area and hopefully pop on by. I won't be able to consume in the drinking part. But
might make your newscast better. You never know, right?
Listen, I've long said that I might be better in a lot of different areas of my life if I would just do that a little bit more. I don't think I'd have a job for as long, but certainly might be a little bit better. You could try it once, is what I've always been told.
Right. That's right.
And you mentioned it, fishing not until the next weekend, so you can get after it a little bit on Saturday. This is one of the best Wahoo tournaments in the world.
Yeah,
isn't it? Like, I'm seriously, when you say that, like, that's like, oh yeah, whatever, you're embellishing, being dramatic. It really is, right?
No, truly, it's the largest Wahoo tournament in the world, and that's not even close. And as far as the best Wahoo tournament in the world, I mean, we do a nice job, but our fishery is, I would argue, the best in the world. Tournament or not, the last 2 years of our tournament, it's taken 100-pound average Wahoo to win the tournament. As the boats fish 2 days, they can weigh up to 3 fish per day, and the heaviest 3 fish aggregate total, you can drop smaller fish or whatnot, but the heaviest 3 fish aggregate total wins a yellowfin boat valued at $125,000. Well, it's taken over 300 pounds the last 2 years. Just for perspective, when we started this tournament 15 years ago, the first year 180 pounds won it, and then 191 pounds won it the second year. So now 300 pounds is winning.
Crazy.
The fishermen have adapted to different styles and methods of fishing, and we have a lot more participation, and they've figured out the fishery, and they've gotten better, and they're catching more and bigger ones. So it's a kudos to the fishermen.
We're living in a world where the athlete is bigger, stronger, faster. Apparently, so are the Wahoo.
Yeah, a lot of big Wahoo around here. Northeast Florida, seriously, it used to be San Salvador in the southern Bahamas is where you went to catch a big Wahoo. We catch as big a Wahoo here as they do anywhere in the world. I mean, truly.
I know you told us that in the past, but why is that? Is that a warmer water thing, or is that a migration thing? Like what?
Yeah, I don't know that they've always lived here. I think that everything's kind of moving north. We have a lot different. Our fishery has changed over the last few years, and there's a lot more bait fish. We're fishing for these fish in different areas than we did, let's just say, 20 years ago when I was fishing and used to be a good fisherman, and we used to fish out what they call the ledge, which is 60 miles offshore. It's a continental shelf roll down, and it's the edge of the Gulf Stream, so to say. Well, now they're fishing in an area called 21 fathoms, basically 15 miles inshore, closer to shore than what we were fishing back then. Were we overrunning them? Were they there and we didn't know it? I don't know, but the abundance of bait fish that live in there these days is what's attracting those fish and holding those fish in there. And I don't believe that bait was there 15 or 20 years ago.
Paul Dozier with us. We got the Wahoo Shootout coming up, the kickoff party on Saturday. It's open to the public down at St. Augustine at the St. Augustine Rod and Gun Club, and then the fishing next week. And by the way, we should tell everybody this is part of the reason you're in. If you get in by later tonight, right, there's a little price break. I mean, you could still get in the event.
Yeah, well, the registration will remain open through next week, but there's a $100 price break that happens at midnight tonight. So if you sign up tomorrow through next Friday, then it's going to cost you an extra $100. This is a unique tournament. It's 43 days. You can fish 2 days. there's no reason we're not waiting on weather for Saturday. You know, a lot of times people will wait and see what the weather's going to be before they pay their money to enter the tournament, because they don't want to go in rough weather. That's part of the design of this tournament, is to take the bad weather out of the equation to make it more enjoyable for everyone.
That's my favorite part of it. I think that's really cool that it goes on for almost 45 days, you know, a month and a half, whatever it is, and you can pick your spots, and then you never know. You get one early, you get one a little bit later.
That's right.
Where have they come? Have they mostly come on the latter end of this?
Yeah, I think that the fishermen would tell you that the full moon plays a huge role.
Yeah.
The full moon and the new moon. And I think traditionally March has been a little bit better than February, but I think it got one last year in late February, if not for very first of March. It was the guy Captain Frank Vining caught 119, 108, and an 83-pounder on the same day.
I remember it.
And
that
is unbelievable. It's just incredible. I mean, just to catch one of those fish, much less three like that, they're world-class fish of a lifetime. To catch three of them in the same day is unheard of.
Unbelievable. Paul Dozier with us. WahooShootout.com, by the way, the place to go. WahooShootout.com. I love myself an easy website. Nice job.
Yeah.
WahooShootout.com. Hey, Nick, do we have some of the video? With some of the Wahoo Shootout video that we have, because it's really been, the last couple of years have been super exciting.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
I think it was a couple of years, I remember the celebration.
Yeah, 2 years ago,
right?
You were there, and that was the very last day of the tournament, and Captain Stuart Witt and crew went out and caught two giant fish, I think 129-pounder on the last day of the tournament, which is the largest fish ever caught in Northeast Florida. 129 pounds. It's ever been. I mean, there might have been a bigger one caught along the lines, but certainly the largest ever caught in a tournament.
There it is.
For years and years and years, Captain Don Combs, who used to own and operate C&H Lures, who was a pioneer in our fishing community. And when I was a little kid in the 80s, he caught a 125-pound wahoo, and we thought there will never be another one caught bigger than that. And sure enough, records are made to be broken, right? So to say.
Yeah, this was like legendary, and I think we'll soon. I don't know if we'll see it. Watch the reaction here. Like this is like perfect game reaction. This is winning the World Series, the Super Bowl reaction. I mean, this was.
Yeah.
What.
They were about to collapse the scale there. Yeah.
I remember this.
Yeah.
It was awesome. Like they were so fired up, and rightfully so, because you don't know, right? You have a feel that what it's going to be, but you don't know how big it actually is going to be.
No, I can't tell you how many hearts that scale's broken. These guys come in there and think they've got an 80 or 90 pounder, and it's 58 pounds, which is still a great fish. And I tell these guys are always apologizing to me for their great fish. I'm like, guys, you don't apologize, man. Different people do this for different reasons. And if you want to come weigh a 25 pounder, you should smile and be proud you caught it. The funny thing about that one was another captain, Mike Bell, weighed about 15 minutes before, and he caught a 114 pounder.
Yeah.
And he was excited and peacocking around there, and I was like, which he should have been. And truly fish of a lifetime. And here those guys come, and he's like, "You got to be kidding me!"
I remember. I think it was Lauren had said, "It's like, hey, you might want to come over. We got a couple of big ones coming in." And again, you just don't know. But that was a cool scene. Dreamfinders Homes, Northeast Florida Wahoo Shootout, presented by Yellowfin. It is registration through tonight. You get a price break of about $100. You can still register through next week. Easy to do. WahooShootout.com, and it'll be the kickoff party on Saturday down at the St. Augustine Rod and Gun Club. The Miller Lite Wahoo kickoff party, and then the fishing starts. And again, 43 days of fishing. You pick your spots. You get 2 different days to go do it, and that's really one of the cool parts of this event. Was it that fish, or was it last year with the 300-pound aggregate all in by one team that really got the world's attention? I forget
both,
which was it. Both of them.
I mean, really.
You guys started going viral. Is my point?
Yeah. We get attention. I had a national magazine call me yesterday and asked me to write an article. I'm not sure they want that to happen, but I'm like, why am I writing?
Lauren.
Yeah, that's right. But they want to do it. I'm like, well, we should have run this article in the fall so we could get ready for this season. So maybe I'll write one for next fall, or get your help, Brent, something along those lines.
Look us up. Give me again. I'm a novice on this. That's why I like to bring you in and ask all the questions. Where's the Wahoo versus the Wahoo fishermen versus the kingfish fishermen versus the whatever? Where are there more Wahoo fishermen? Or
there's certainly more king fishermen.
Okay.
You can kingfish in 17-foot. That's why the old school is so popular. 686 boats last year. It's a closer to shore, smaller boats, family fishing. There's a lot of families that fish this as well. But the fishery has changed, believe it or not. These guys are basically, I'd call it king fishing on steroids. They're using a lot of live bait. They're going out there catching live bait, and that's what you use for kingfish. You use the live pogies or menhaden that we catch right behind the surf. And but now they're going out there catching big blue runners and bonita offshore and using bigger, heavier tackle live bait fishing, which is there's several ways to do this. Basically, that's live bait and ribbon fish in the old school is basically the only way to compete. I mean, you can use some artificial lures and stuff, but that's the only way. But it has gotten into the wahoo fishing, which again, I don't care if you're fishing for a black bass, a speckled trout, a redfish. A live bait's better than an artificial lure. It seems to always produce more. Might not be quite as sporty sometimes, they say, but live bait's effective, and they're catching bigger fish on these live baits, it seems. Yeah, the old school Kingfish Shootout, by the way, coming up later in the summer. We'll have you back in when we talk about that. But you can go to wahooshootout.com and even see some of the information there. That's how you register, wahooshootout.com. Going to be a fun event, a big event. We'll get Paul back in and give us an update. This is the fun one. We can kind of scoreboard watch a little bit over it, not just in a day. Yeah. And last year was really cool. We had the old school Kingfish Shootout right here live on the Action Sports Jacks 24/7 network. So these are fun things to follow. But we'll get you back in and see where that scoreboard lands us maybe later in February, early March.
Watching the Action Sports Jacks 24/7 network. Now it's time for the Brent and Austen Show.
That was very nice, Nick. Thank you.
My apologies.
Hey, that's like an ID. That's our Action Sports Jacks 24/7 network ID. I thought we were going away somewhere. We're not done yet, Paul. Okay. Because when I got you in here, and the Gators are like 18-2. Yeah. The Jags have a new coach. Yeah. I mean, life must be good heading into this Wahoo Shootout.
Yeah, we're looking pretty good. We're looking pretty good until they head up to Knoxville, and Chaz makes about 33s on Saturday, and I mean, college basketball is crazy in the SEC this year. Now. You just don't ever know, and anybody can beat anybody. But, yeah, they're doing a nice job down there. I haven't been down there yet this year, but I'd like to get down for a game. And exciting times around the Jaguars. You know, we need the Jags to be good. It's good for all of us.
Yeah. Well, you should get down to a Gator game. They've been rocking. We were down at the Tennessee one where they looked really good that night. And it's kind of fun watching Chaz Lanier, as everybody knows him from UNF, and see what he's doing at one of the top teams in the country. You said it, though, college basketball, it's a wild year, and we're going to have a big March
should be
around
a great
here
tournament,
because,
really.
Like 2 weeks ago, under the radar, we were talking so much Jag stuff. But 19 of the top 25 teams lost in a week's time. In the top 25, how crazy is that? That's what college basketball does. In college football, usually you don't get that. You're not going to have a week like that.
Well, who knows when we get to the NCAA tournament who's going to win? I mean, there is no way anybody can say, "Oh, it's going to be." In the old days, you'd know it was Kansas or Duke or North Carolina or whoever had the better team. Sure, they get upset sometime, but you thought, well, these two guys are going to probably make the Final Four, but. Who knows now, man?
Yeah, we thought UConn might be that after back-to-back, and they're not. They're right up hanging on the top 25. So
Hurley will tell you he's the best coach ever, though.
Hurley will tell you a lot of different things. All right, wahooshootout.com. We got the party coming up on Saturday. Don't miss that. These guys throw a great party down at the St. Augustine Rod and Gun Club, and you don't have to be fishing to go to that. So that's open to the public between 4 and 8. I'm going to try to stop down there as well. Tonight, get your registration in if you want to fish in this because you get a $100 break. Now, if you decide a little bit later, no problem as well. Remember, you have 43 days. You got 2 different days, and we'll hopefully have some highlight winners once again.
That's right. We sure will. And again, the party on Saturdays, a lot of fun. Family, kids zone. Justin the plumber provides a kids zone. There'll be a game truck down there, so mom and dad can have a good time and the kids can get entertained. So we look forward to it, and we hope to see everybody down there, and we appreciate all your support as always, Brent.
Yeah, it's Miller Lite Wahoo Kickoff Party. Dreamfinders Homes Northeast Florida Wahoo Shootout kicking off in 2025, presented by Yellowfin, and that means you can win a big boat at the end of this thing, too. So we'll have it covered over the next couple of months as well. Paul Dozier, thanks for stopping in, man. Good luck with the tournament.
Thank you, buddy. Appreciate you guys.
We'll take a timeout. We come back. Pro Bowl or no Pro Bowl? Super Bowl or the Chiefs going to win? We'll talk a little bit about the Chiefs and Eagles. And Brian Thomas Jr., what's the role in this offense with Liam Coen calling plays? We'll be back on the Brent and Austen Show on the Action Sports Jacks 24/7 network.
There's a saying in sports, you can't win them all, but you can win a lot with good folks on your team. Like that one painter, First Coast. It's tough to beat the sun in Florida, so your home fades. It's tough to beat that HOA when they come calling. Beat the sun, beat the HOA with that one painter, First Coast. And it's a good time to do it. Less rain to work around, and painting in mild temperatures is perfect. After all, the paint bonds to the surface so much better. Give that one painter First Coast a call at 904-417-3557 or look them up at first-coast.thatonepainter.com. Fast estimate, guidance on color and HOA requirements, and the highest quality job you'll find anywhere. Be a big winner in your neighborhood with that one painter First Coast on your team.
People helping people. It's at the core of what Alive Credit Union is all about, and it's been that way for over 70 years. From the start in 1954 to today, the mission remains to inspire financial wellness and give you a financially fit lifestyle. Alive Credit Union and its employees are committed to not only serving their valued members, but also our community here in Northeast Florida. I had a chance to see that commitment firsthand as Alive partnered with our Action Sports Jacks 24/7 team to bring you Armada men's and women's soccer broadcasts. Inside the 18, it is a shot, and it's a goal! Chloe Chivers! And that connection to the community continues with Alive Credit Union's support of the Police Athletic League of Jacksonville. Alive Credit Union's commitment to our community also involves serving the financial needs of all first responders through the recent merger partnership with City and Police Federal Credit Union. Join the community and become a member of Alive Credit Union today. Find out the many ways you can be inspired in financial wellness at alivecu.coop.
Burgers or breakfast, you can get it all at Whataburger. Try something new on the menu or an all-time favorite like the Whataburger Patty Melt.
And now you can have breakfast here at Whataburger 12 hours a day, 11 p.m. until 11 a.m. Menu items like the bacon taquito, sausage taquito, honey butter chicken biscuit. Whether you work the late night shift, just want a snack early in the morning to get your day started, or a little pick-me-up late in the morning, 12 hours a day, breakfast served, 11 p.m. until 11 a.m.
A dozen locations in Jacksonville. You can order pickup or delivery and download the Whataburger app. New rewards members get free Whataburger items when placing their first online order. Just download the app. And for us coffee drinkers, Whataburger has all new hot coffee and iced coffee too. Satisfy that coffee craving at Whataburger 24/7, and it comes in a variety of flavors. Burgers, breakfast, coffee, and so much more. Whataburger, just like you like it.
For the game day hustle and every day in between. Juggling my show, Jags Social, to going under the Friday night lights and a social life, it's a daily tournament. But this ride, MVP status. The all-new 2024 Lincoln Nautilus isn't just my car, it's my personal locker room, office on the go, and VIP lounge on wheels. Let's talk tech. My profile remembers everything from customizing my dash display to setting the ambient lighting and my signature scent. And wireless charging, essential for live tweeting scores. Whether I'm packing for a beach day with friends or heading to the gym, there's space for every passion. After dominating all day, this becomes my recovery zone. The massage feature is like having a personal PT on call. Life's a non-stop game, but with this ride, I'm always on my A game. The 2024 Lincoln Nautilus. Drive your passion.
If you don't see a pit, it ain't legit. When you hear that, you think Bono's Pit Barbecue, a staple in Northeast Florida now for 75 years. A place that feels like home with friendly service. A meeting place for friends, family, or business occasions. On the menu, the corn nuggets are a favorite in our house, but there's something for everyone. Sandwiches, platters, salads, sides, desserts, and family feasts. You see Bono's all over the place in Northeast Florida. You know, there are almost 20 locations in the Jacksonville area now, so stop on by, sit down, and dine in with Bono's. You can also take it to go. There are drive-thrus in many of the locations, and they have delivery options too. Just download the Bono's app to make things easy. I signed up for the loyalty program, and you can too, to get special offers. If Jacksonville is home, few things feel more Jacksonville than Bono's Pit Barbecue. Celebrate 75 years and many more to come. Bono's Pit Barbecue. If you don't see a pit, it ain't legit.
Welcome back to the Brent and Austen Show, streaming on the Action Sports Jacks 24/7 network.
Beautiful day here in Jacksonville. Not a bad day to think about that fishing. Oh, it was good to have Paul Dozier in. I love talking. Listen, I don't know much about it, but I love talking about it. And we're going to do more with it coming up on the Action Sports Jacks 24/7 network. So if you're into the fishing scene, which many of you are, stay tuned here with the Action Sports Jacks 24/7 network. And good luck to everybody out there fishing in the Wahoo Shootout this upcoming year. And wahooshootout.com one more time if you missed it and you know anybody that wants to participate. All right, Austin Lane should be checking in here soon. You give me a thumbs up when he is in and ready to go, as he's down at Fight Camp in South Florida. Oh, is he in? We got him? There we go. I think I heard him. Sounds like he can hear me.
What up, man? Yeah, I've been in. There we go.
Good deal.
How we
making
doing?
sure the audio worked first.
Yeah, we got Nick on this. You think
Audio
this is
good?
just push a button and make sure everything's good down there in South Florida? There's bigger parts to this, Austin Lane. You got your own problems like your hair right now, I think.
Well, yeah, man. I mean, I literally come from sparring, no time to decompress. This is what you get. Man, I could have dumped my man Nick in the daytime. Like, this dude's got it. It's not his first rodeo, man. Call him off the bench, bring him in the ninth. Let's get it, Nick. The human enigma.
Yeah. By the way, when he said to me today he's going to a wedding this weekend, and this is the first time he's really been to a wedding, would that surprise you at the age of 26?
With him, absolutely not. With anybody, with any other citizen in this world, without a doubt, man. Like, you mean to tell me you didn't have uncles, cousins, friends? Nick in the daytime, what are we doing, man? And by the way, are you taking notes for your wedding then too?
Oh, 100%. I feel like I need to.
It's a scouting trip.
Yeah. Oh, scouting trip. I might have to scouting report and everything when I get done with this. How to set up the venue and whatnot. Man, I have to. And the thing is, like, everything. I have to learn what the etiquette to properly do a wedding is. That way, I don't look goofy and out of place. Even though with everything I know about this wedding I'm going to, I'm a little like, wait a minute, this is a little too much for me. Because it's my buddy's, like, his fiance.
Ooh, okay.
It's her parents that have paid for everything, and it's going to be a pretty elegant wedding. So I'm like, yeah, here's, elegant wedding, and then me. And it's like, I wear orange all the time. A little, shift in momentum here for me. It just ain't the same.
This is like Nick trying to be like Nick is like an arena bowl, like an arena football coach trying to go to the Senior Bowl. Just to try to scout a little bit. Like he's not supposed to be there, but he still is trying to see, like, hey, if one of these players slips through the cracks a little bit, gets in some trouble, we can put him on the arena team.
I don't know if you're going to be producing the show next week, Nick, but I want you back on sometime next week to give us a scouting report whenever you get back in.
All
right, so let's make that happen. Brent Martin, Austin Lane. All right, let's talk some more football here. We talked already a little bit earlier in the show, Press Taylor going to Chicago. We talked about the Jags offensive coordinator search and where that might land and how important it really is. Talked a little bit about receivers. I'm going to get back into Brian Thomas Jr. I want to talk about this. The Pro Bowl for years and years has been something that's like, what are we doing? What are we doing? Why are we doing it? They've tried different things. I don't think people hate the current version of the Pro Bowl so much, but I do think people really don't give a damn either. Like, they don't need to see it. Like, I don't think we need to see the NFL doing something this weekend, and especially since no longer it's a game. Should they just get rid of it? You're a former player, Austin, so like these are... I really believe the only reason you keep it going if you're the NFL are probably three things. One, the fans really want it, and I don't think that's true. Two, it makes you money.
Agreed.
And my guess is it probably does, because anything you put the NFL shield on makes money. But in the grand scheme of things, I don't know how much it really makes you relative to everything else that you do. And then thirdly, it's because, well, the players want to be acknowledged for their hard work, and accolades are important. And, okay, the All-Pro team is one thing, but that's really hard to make. At least the Pro Bowl, you can hand out some more trophies, and they like hanging out with each other and that element. Like, those are the three things. I think the first two really don't matter. I wonder if the third one does matter to players.
Man, so I hate being on the fence with everything, but I can get both sides. But like being a former player, and I'm not sure if it's, changed since I last played in 2014. I've been in those player meetings where we vote for Pro Bowlers, right? Because it's like a percentage comes from the players. I think a percentage still comes from the fans, and a percentage maybe comes from the media. Is that right still? Or I don't even know.
I think you're right. Yeah, I think it's
Okay.
all that.
So I've been in those meetings, man. And when I tell you that it's the biggest bunch of bull, it's the biggest bunch of bull, right? Like you're always going to try to vote for your own players. If it's against a rival, like for instance, I think we had like Chris Johnson in our division. Well, we weren't voting for Chris Johnson because we didn't like Chris Johnson because he played for the Tennessee Titans, right? So now you're talking about the best players not even getting, I feel like, voted from certain teams just because of the pettiness, just because of being a rival. So then it's not even about maybe the best players getting into the Pro Bowl. It's more of a popularity contest, right? And then when you have guys that opt out and everything, it just becomes kind of a joke. Now, I get the other side of it because to say that you're a Pro Bowler, well, that used to mean something, right? It can mean something in contracts. It can mean something in incentives. It can mean something in a lot of areas in terms of you generating more revenue, getting more money. So I get that point. But number one, it's become a glorified flag football event. Number two, the right guys don't always get in. And number three, everyone kind of backs out of it now, Brent. I don't need to see the Pro Bowl. And I think like saying, hey, I'm a former Pro Bowler, I'm a Pro Bowler now, it doesn't carry any weight anymore. So I'm indifferent towards it. Like if the guys want to keep on doing it, have at it. But I'm going to be honest, man, I'm probably not going to watch it.
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't know if I fully agree that it doesn't carry weight. I think it carries less weight, but I do think like when Brian Thomas Jr. makes the Pro Bowl, I think it's significant for people here in Jacksonville. I think the fans like it. I think Logan Cook and Ross Matisic too, but I really think for Brian Thomas Jr. in this lost year to make the Pro Bowl, I think it's significant to him. I feel some significance and almost happiness for him as well, and it's nice to see Jacksonville recognized and his season recognized. So I do feel like it does carry some weight a little bit in that respect. There's a little bit of a pride thing. And it's almost like I haven't tried to win an award in TV in like years, right? But when you win an award in TV, whether it's an Emmy Award or an AP Award or something like that, like
Folio, Brent, you didn't win a Folio Award a couple years ago?
Oh yeah, I guess I did. Yeah, we did do that. My bad. So we did win the Folio.
This guy.
But I just was like I don't care about it, but at the same time, like in your bio, when they introduce me to go MC something, I'll be like, hey, Emmy Award winner. Like people do care. Like I think it does carry weight. I think some people do care about that when they put it next to your name, Pro Bowler, Brian Thomas Jr. You know what I mean? I feel like, although we say it doesn't mean that much in real time.
Do you think it carries a lot of weight with Tyler Huntley? Do you think it carries a lot of weight with Tyler Huntley?
I know.
Like, do you think like when I'm going to my son is like, hey, you know what that is? That's Pro Bowler Tyler Huntley right there, and he's gonna go, huh? Who's that?
There's a little bit of a mockery there of it because of all the changes. But I do think right now Trevor Lawrence is able to say he has one. I think there's pride in that for the whole fan base, and it didn't get in right away. David Garrard, you go back to 2010, he got in, but nobody knows now. I'd have to tell you now that he was like the 7th or 8th alternate guy that got in because everybody got hurt back then. Like, but you don't really know that. Yeah. And quite frankly, we're trying to get Fred Taylor in the Hall of Fame, and you didn't care if Fred got in on the first guy or the 18th guy. It would really look good right now if he had a couple of Pro Bowls and did get in, no matter how he got in. So, listen, I'm not an awards guy to begin with. Like, I don't really care about all those things for players or whatever else. But I do think we as a public, although we like to complain about the way it is right now, we do also like to celebrate that extra little bullet point under a guy's name from time to time. And we know I actually think the public knows what the Pro Bowl almost carries more weight to make a Pro Bowl than it does to be an All-Pro, because they're kind of like, how is the AP All-Pro thing even decided? Like, you don't go play in a game, right? It's just kind of a little note that comes out and say this.
Yeah,
now, the players, they know it's a bigger deal, right? And we know it's a bigger deal. But I'm telling you, the public's test, you go in the grocery store and I ask, hey, what's a bigger deal? If you make AP first team, second team, or you make the Pro Bowl, I'm telling you, I'm getting Pro Bowl answers.
Well, then those fans are giant casuals. Because like I think if you ask anybody that follows the game, everyone's going to tell you, like, if you're an All-Pro, that carries so much more weight than being a Pro Bowler. Like if you introduce somebody as, he was a first team All-Pro, second team All-Pro, that goes to show you like he is the elite of the elite. Like he is one of whatever, one of two, one of four in the National Football League. I think if you tell somebody, this guy's a Pro Bowler, it's like, okay, like, so what? Some guy sat out, so he took some dude's spot. Like, I guess this is where we disagree. I think if you ask like the general audience, what's better, the All-Pro or the Pro Bowl? I think everyone's going to say the All-Pro, but maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, I think there are a lot more casual fans than you know. It's the same thing. It's like, hey, hey Nick, I won an Emmy Award or a Murrow Award. Which one's bigger? And people be like, oh, and the Emmy Award. No doubt. They know that name. My mom, dad, they like thought I was like going to California on the red carpet when we won that. And I was like, no, like the Murrow Award is way more prestigious. And I think it falls that way. Like inside the business, we know that. Outside, I'm not sure everybody knows that. And I do think we have a lot of casual fans, quite frankly, that don't even know the All-Pro team exists in the NFL.
I mean, at the end of the day, if I'm negotiating a contract, the All-Pro is going to always win out. Like, I mean, that's why it's more important.
That's true.
Like,
that's true.
Let's talk about free agency, right? If the Jaguars bring in somebody who's, a former All-Pro, fans going to get excited regardless of the position. If you bring in somebody and say, this guy was a former Pro Bowler, it's like, okay, cool. So, I just think it carries that much more weight. But
hey, listen, if we're going to I always like to do this. If we're going to try to complain about something and not have it, and I don't need the Pro Bowl this weekend. I don't like at all. We're going to go down to Orlando on Saturday. We're going to interview Ross Matisick and Logan Cook and Brian Thomas Jr. will be fine. We got a half-hour show on Saturday night, Action Sports Shacks primetime. We'll have some content. All good. Like I hope they have a blast. It'll be fun. It's fine. Nothing wrong with it. I also was never a guy that was really watching the Pro Bowl that much. I don't need football in my life every Sunday like that much that I need to watch the Pro Bowl. And these guys just run around and fake like they're playing ball. But let's come up with a solution. And I think if the last part does matter, because I could see it mattering. I think the two things you hear about is one, another accolade is cool, contract-wise, money-wise, branding-wise. And also, I do believe the players like to be around each other once in a while. I think the neat thing about this for Brian Thomas Jr. is he's going to get a chance to be around some of the top receivers in the game, some of the top players in the game. And when you do that, you get to meet people across the league, and that's fun. Why not? I think that's pretty cool to be around. So if you're going to do that, why don't we just send them to an island and pay for a party for those guys if you're the NFL? Or send them somewhere and be like, you know how they throw the Super Bowl party for the winner at that night? Why don't you just have an event where you have a chance to go? Why is this any different? Why is this any better where you get to play dodgeball instead? Why don't you just go have fun and bring your wife and a couple of guests and make it more of I don't know about a banquet, but more of a party for these guys than something that they could risk getting hurt in.
I mean, Brent, you've been to Super Bowls. There are tons of player parties that people will get to interact with, we've been on Radio Row how many times? That does happen. Now, it's not in the capacity of going through a practice and representing your team's colors and everything, but these things do take place. Players do hang out outside of football activities, and the Super Bowl is a fantastic weekend to do that. So I think that's there. It's just not under the capacity of going through a walkthrough of a practice and everything. I mean, if you want a solution, and there's nothing perfect, right? And once again, if the players want to do it, you want to play dodgeball, you want to do tug of war, you want to go through the drills and everything, more power to you. I have two solutions. The first one being, if you're going to do the Pro Bowl, then bring back the solid events. Bring back the bench press of 225. Bring back the see which quarterback can throw it the longest. Things like that. Now, I understand, there's a risk of injury, everything, so let's make it interesting. Garner some money up and have, all right, whoever can bench 225 the most, they get $200,000. Whoever can throw the ball the farthest, they get $200,000. And maybe half of it goes to charity, half of it goes in the players' pockets. Now there's some incentive to actually want to show up and try to, do your thing. A 40-yard dash, right? Or a race, 100-meter, whatever the case may be. Let's finally see who the fastest NFL player is. Once again, make it a giant pot, maybe $1 million. $1 million to whoever the fastest NFL player is. Tell me Tyreek Hill and Micah Parsons and company wouldn't come out and try to see who the fastest guy is. So I think there's some incentives there. But if you don't want to go that route and you want to cancel the entire weekend, then I'm a big proponent of, because when it comes to all pros, what is it? It's first team and second team.
Yeah.
So I would do it more like maybe you had in high school or even in some colleges, where you have first team, second team, third team, and then you go honorable mention. And that way you're still getting players that are in that spotlight a little bit. I think the all pro means a little more. And whether it's contract negotiations or whether it's just prestige of saying, hey, I'm an honorable mention all pro, I'm a third team all pro. Now we're getting more guys in the conversation based off of their skills on the field and not having it be a popularity contest.
Yeah. Yeah, there's ways to do it. I think they do have to fix it. I think the NFL's got to stop worrying about trying to fill the weekend too. Like I think they're consumed by that, like filling this weekend of nothing. I mean, if they really want to do that, I don't know what. I guess they need to do this from a logistics standpoint. They do that NFL Honors Day on Thursday before I think is it Thursday or is it Saturday night? They do it Saturday night before the Super Bowl. Maybe they do it Saturday night before the Super Bowl. I thought they used to do it on a Thursday, and now I think they moved it to Saturday. But I was like, well, you could do it the week prior, but then you probably got to get all the guys out there and people out there. So there's something logistic about it. But we'll see. Listen, I don't really also think I don't care if you fix it or not. Like, I'm not that bothered by it, but I think if people do get bothered by this and they want everything to be like buttoned up and perfect, I think what you just said, there's no easy way to figure this one out and do it and make it work for everybody. So if it stays what it is, it stays what it is. I mean, I'm not going to lose sleep over it, but I just think it's always an interesting conversation.
Don't you think it's a good idea, Nick, in the daytime? I mean, this is more from the youthful standpoint. Feel free to chime in here as well. But like, I think they should try to market this as like, let's see who the strongest player is. Like, let's have the bench press competition. Let's see who the fastest guy is in the NFL. Let's see who's got the biggest arm. Like, and I get maybe there's a risk of injury, but like, I think these guys can warm up properly and take care of themselves, so we don't see like too much. And what are you gonna do? Pull a hamstring? All right, you out for a couple weeks, you're gonna be okay. Like, I think there's a lot to like there in terms of, I will tune in to see who the fastest player in the NFL is. I will tune in to see who the strongest player in the NFL is.
100%.
Nick, what do you think, man? From the youth perspective, yeah, you would tune in.
I think returning it to like the old school, like skill position games, like they used to have around the Pro Bowl, would be nice. I think the actual like full physical game was cool and all, but really dumb because you could get those severe injuries in play. But the current state of the Pro Bowl, I think, is just dumb. I think it's just dumb. Like the games that they have now, why should I even watch it? Some guy playing dodgeball. I don't care.
Yeah, and I don't think people do. I mean,
no, listen, exactly.
I do think people like to see folks out of their element. Like that part is. I think that part of the dodgeball or that part of the whatever else, like this very loosey-goosey whatever, that's what golf's trying to do with this like Monday, Tuesday league, right? The TGL. They're trying to show more personality. It's not as like stuffy as like a golf tournament. And so same type of deal. Like it's not as competitive in this arena that the Pro Bowl is in, but you're kind of loose and having fun. And hey, guess what? The greatest players in the world, they might not be that great at dodgeball or something like that. It's almost like they're vulnerable. They're showing a little vulnerability to some of the. So I do think people like that element of seeing stars that they know in a different element. And whether that's a cooking show or something else, I think this is better than cooking, probably. But I do think that different element is I think some fans do like that. I can't say I hate that. I just think we can't disguise it as like this, who really gives a damn if anybody wins anything. But I like your idea. Like, I wish Tyreek Hill and you get whatever. I mean, maybe you get some Olympians involved in it too. Would anybody do it? Or is the risk of injury too much for something like that to find out the fastest man in the NFL?
Maybe for the Olympians.
I mean,
in the speed competition deal, maybe, because I don't know if their schedule, their like events align differently, and it would conflict. Maybe, I don't know. I don't know anything about Olympic sports. But
why are we bringing Olympians into this?
Well, it's his idea. Like, you can bring some guys in that. Who was the guy in the last Olympics that said something about the NFL that he would succeed? Wasn't there a guy that said that?
Yeah.
Who was it? Yeah.
So you bring that
Noah
guy
Lyles, right?
Yeah, you bring Lyles in.
Yeah.
You put Lyles, you line up Tyreek, you line up whoever you think the 5 fastest guys are in the league. You put them in full pads and say, run. see where Lyles winds up at. It's different when you run as a sprinter rather than
bring in Austin Rivers. Bring in Austin Rivers. Let him run like a go route or like a slant route against Kyle Hamilton, and then let's see how that goes for him. Okay.
Yeah,
because remember Austin Rivers was the guy that was talking smack about how he can play football. And
yeah. But no, I mean, to your point though, if you're trying to find the fastest man, it's an exhibition type of thing, and so really the Noah Lyles. I mean, I think Nick is right on. Like that Noah Lyles thing had some steam for a bit, right? Because him and Tyreek Hill, I think, were going back and forth. Like that would be the setting to try to do something like that. And if you were going to do it, you're not going to do it in July before training camp, I don't think. So, I don't know. Again, you don't have to bring Noah Lyles or other people into the fold. That's fine. You want to just find out the fastest man? I do think it would be entertaining. I think the strongest man, the fastest man, as Mr. Pico Boulevard said, the slowest man. Have the slowest man race as well.
Mr. Pico just said Mark Andrews versus Dalton Kincaid catching. Oh, you're sick for that one, man. You're a sick pup, Mr. Pico. Ooh. That's rough.
He also threw an Urban Meyer kicking challenge into the game. So,
whoa, that's pretty legit, though. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what they do with it at the end of the day. One person I saw this about the NBA. Oh, they said the NBA did that with the NBA season tournament. Winning it doesn't really mean much, but less paid players have an op to make more money. You know, Hamby's Burner was saying.
Yeah.
And yeah, they've tried to do something too. Like again, I don't mind this imagination by some of these leagues and stuff. Like the in-season NBA thing, I totally don't get it. I mean, I work in the sports world. I'm not paying attention to the NBA enough. Now, if I was in Indiana covering the Pacers or Orlando covering the Magic, I'd be deeper into it and probably understand it by now. But as somebody who doesn't do that and just kind of catches wind of it, and here's this and here's, by the way, the championships tonight, and how did we even get here? Like, I really don't have a clue. Now, it's still relatively new. In another 2 or 3 years, will I understand it a little bit more? Maybe. But that one is complicated.
Let me break it. I mean, here's what I think the NBA was trying to do with that. If you look at the NFL, like, yeah, you're playing almost every single day, it seems like. But you have, like, your high-profile games when? Sunday night, Monday night.
Yeah.
Right? Like, everyone tunes in for Sunday Night Football. Everyone tunes in for Monday Night Football because you're probably going to expect to see a good game. I feel like the in-play tournament is kind of the same thing because I think they usually played on Fridays. And it's like, hey, you better tune in because you're going to see Boston take on Cleveland here on primetime television. That's where I feel like they're trying to go with this whole thing is they're trying to reserve nights where it's like, all right, this is basketball night here because we got two great teams going forward. And, like, did it work? Probably not because I didn't really follow. I mean, I watched the championship because the Bucks were in it. But, yeah, I think it's the NBA trying to be more like the NFL there.
Yeah, that's a good call. I didn't realize that part. I thought they were trying to kind of minimize or at least get through the length of the season and keep things interesting because it's not just the playoffs. So many teams make the playoffs. Also, the load management stuff that, you know, again, it gets a little boring in the early part of the season because you're like, okay, game number 18 doesn't really matter. They were trying to make game number 18 and 25 and 32 still matter as much as game maybe 1 and 81 matter in the NBA. But that's a good point there. And in fact, I don't think they should overthink that. They probably should just it's kind of like Monday Night Football says Monday Night Football and Sunday Night Football says Sunday Night Football. They might want to say Friday Night Basketball. You know, they might want to just simply do, hey, because that's probably a good idea. Like, I didn't look at it through that lens or I haven't seen that, but I think that's probably for other sports, that's a pretty good idea. Like, they do have Sunday Night Baseball in baseball, like on ESPN, but that's more of an ESPN thing than it is an MLB thing. But maybe the NBA should do that. Like whatever it is, Wednesday night game of the week or Tuesday. They probably should pick a Tuesday or a Wednesday and maybe a Friday because even if it overlaps in football season, Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Fridays don't really contradict with the NFL. So you could take those days or try to do it, but maybe they should just be a little bit more straightforward with stuff like that. Hey, let's do this. I want to talk about the Super Bowl a little bit, and I want to talk Brian Thomas Jr. I also catch people up to date on the latest going on in the Jags coaching search as we kind of wait. It's been a wild week and a half, really more than that, It's been very, very busy, and then all of a sudden it feels like we've kind of hit the skids and we're waiting a little bit. Now we wait GM, we wait OC, DC, what's going to happen? A lot of interviews have taken place, but not a lot of decisions have yet been made, and obviously the Jags lose out on Patrick Graham, or maybe they weren't going that way anyway, but the Raiders get Patrick Graham to go back, so that creates another interesting situation for Liam Coen and his staff. Probably going to get an inexperienced guy on that side of the ball. Is that concerning? A lot more to get to here on a Thursday, the Brent and Austen Show on the Action Sports Jacks 24/7 Network. And we're in partnership with the Jacksonville Police Athletic League as well, jaxpal.org. Go check out what they do for all the kids in Northeast Florida and giving kids in our area a chance to play sports, be a part of after-school programs, go to summer camp, and even attend events like the Jags games and boxing and do other things to help the kids and the youth in the area. Well, you can be a part of it. You can donate and help out or send your kids. Go to jaxpal.org, the Jacksonville Police Athletic League. We'll be right back.
When it comes to trucks, I know exactly what I want. And at Bozard Ford, they make it easy to get exactly that. Let's go make this truck a little more my style. With Bozard Built, I can create my perfect truck right here. Lift kit? Check. Premium wheels? You bet. Advanced lighting package? Oh yeah. The Bozard team works their magic. From bumper to tailgate, I'm making this truck mine. It's everything that I wanted and more. From the field to the gym to weekend adventures. This truck's built for my journey. Bozard Built. Customized for your lifestyle, built to exceed your expectations. Check out the inventory and available options at bozardbuilt.com. Unleash your dream ride. Customized, covered, and Bozard approved.
When it's time to get a new car for anyone in your family, just remember, nobody but Nimnick, the #1 Buick GMC dealer in Jacksonville. Get the latest price breaks on 2023 and 2024 models or the newest 2025 vehicles in the showroom on Phillips Highway or shop online at nimnickbuickgmc.com 24 hours a day. GMC Sierras, Yukons, and the redesigned Acadias, or get the all-new redesigned line with Buicks. It's nobody but Nimnick, and part of the reason why is this is a first-class buying experience here at Nimnick Buick GMC. You're not just a customer, you're a friend. This is about getting a vehicle that best fits you and getting you on the road, and also helping you and your family down the road. Nimnick has a treating you right guarantee, courtesy, respect, fairness, and most Buicks, GMCs, and Jacksonville's only Car Bravo dealer, nobody but Nimnick. Who has put in the most years and stands behind a better experience? Nobody but Nimnick. GMC, we are professional grade.
There's a saying in sports, you can't win them all, but you can win a lot with good folks on your team. Like that one painter, First Coast. It's tough to beat the sun in Florida, so your home fades. It's tough to beat that HOA when they come calling. Beat the sun, beat the HOA with that one painter, First Coast. And it's a good time to do it. Less rain to work around, and painting in mild temperatures is perfect. After all, the paint bonds to the surface so much better. Give that one painter First Coast a call at 904-417-3557 or look them up at first-coast.thatonepainter.com. Fast estimate, guidance on color and HOA requirements, and the highest quality job you'll find anywhere. Be a big winner in your neighborhood with that one painter First Coast on your team.
2024 provided plenty of memorable moments for the Jacksonville Armada on the pitch, including another conference championship game appearance for Tommy Kruzanovich's under-23 men's team.
Ace it in the dying moments.
Debuting this year for the first time, the girls in blue, as the Armada fielded a women's under-23 side in the WPSL and made its presence known with some highlight moments.
Potential goal of the season.
Then attention turned to the future, with MLS Next teams representing the Armada badge in 3 age divisions this fall, including an under-19 squad ranking among the best in the state. Those teams are a big focus on Fleet and Footy, covering the big soccer stories each week on the Action Sports Jax 24/7 network.
I'll put one in the back of the net for you.
Join us for player profiles, fun interviews, and the very latest on the Fleet and all things footy. That's every Thursday at 2 p.m.
Welcome back to the Brent and Austen Show, streaming on the Action Sports Jax 24/7 network.
Welcome back to the Brent and Austen Show. Brent will be joining us, I guess, momentarily here. I am still in South Florida, getting my fight camp in here. I know the video is a little blurry right now, but I think I got some Matt burning stuff on my face, so it looks like I got in a little bit of a fight. Hard sparring day today, but had to come back and talk some sports as well. And we got Nick in the daytime, the human enigma, pushing all the right buttons in the back. Sad I can't be there to see it in person, but Nick, quick question, man. I assume you being you're rocking the Tennessee orange right now, yeah?
Of course, buddy. Come on now.
Okay. Yeah, I mean that's kind of a given. And by my understanding, you're going to your very first wedding ever. Weird for a lot of people, not weird for the human enigma. Well, what you're going to see when you're scouting this wedding for your own wedding coming up, and by the way, we said it before, but once again, congratulations on that. What are going to be your theme colors? Because every wedding, you have your colors. And by my understanding, your fiance, she didn't grow up in the Tennessee realm like you did, but she supports you. Where are we going to draw the line here, Nick? Are we going to do the Tennessee orange in the wedding, or what are we talking about here?
No, that line got drawn a long, long time ago. I think about as much orange as I can have. And let's bring Brent back in now. I think about as much orange as I can have is probably my cufflinks, and even then, they're probably going to be all stainless, like steel, silver, gold, whatever. I'll try to keep the orange to a minimum for her sake because she really does not like it. I wear the orange hoodie, and she's like, "Can you take that off?"
Hey, man. Do you mean to tell me that the greats that are going to be watching down on you? I'm talking about the Pat Summits. I'm talking about the Reggie Whites that are watching down on your special day, and you ain't even be rocking any type of orange except some cufflinks?
The wedding day, I do kind of want a less orange, more kind of classy look. I have to admit, I'm okay with less orange.
We got to get him something.
My bad, Nick. Thought it meant more. Thought it meant more in that, CC. I guess it does more.
I thought it meant more.
Hey, do you know what it means? It means cufflinks. That's about it.
I didn't know where you were going with that. It's like I thought it meant more, or you just disappoint me. I thought we knew you, Nick. I would almost say that's a little. I think that was a test from your future wife. Now she's concerned. She doesn't know you as well as she thought she did. She wanted you to battle
Nick,
for that.
Do we have colors? Did we have the colors in line? What are you rocking here? Or can you not give out the spoiler?
I told you a while back.
Yeah,
it's
boho. He's like tan.
Bohemian. Yeah, it's like taupes, tans, creams, stuff like that.
That's right. It's kind of earth tones. Is that what we're talking about?
Kinda. That's
okay. Desert earth tones.
Something in that sense.
Hey, Nick, go Gators! Yeah, but a big one coming up on Saturday, by the way.
Well, look, Steven, I'm with Christopher Morley here. I got one person in the chat with me. One person.
Go Vols! You got more of that. Don't worry, there are plenty of them.
No, I'm actually surprised with how many Tennessee fans are in the area. I cruise around, and you'll see like a plate on a bumper or sticker, and I'm thinking, there's somebody else, but I'm surprised with how many there are.
Well, it seems like a lot of them want to get out of Knoxville and come down to Florida.
I don't know about that.
Nick, are we going to play Rocky Top one time at the wedding or not?
See,
I mean, come on. Like, you have to do that.
What are we doing?
See,
listen.
It was worked in at some point, I think, to be like the exit song, but it didn't really flow and work.
That's big.
It may get worked in somewhere else.
Nick,
I think
what's
it's
your
still
fiance's name again?
Erin.
Erin. And I met her at
Strings.
At Strings. Very nice. And
Rocky Top's going to be replaced by Michael Bublé. Congratulations, Nick.
Yeah.
No,
and Erin, by the way, you should be running this wedding. And you know what? Maybe even no orange, maybe some secretive orange that will identify with Nick. But there's nothing in the wedding. I've done this before. There's no flow to a wedding or whatever at a wedding that says you can't play Rocky Top in the wedding. Like, you have to be able to play Rocky Top in the wedding. Like, there's plenty of time. I'm not talking about walking down the aisle. You play Rocky Top. We're talking about at the reception, you play Rocky Top. Like, you have to be able to do that somewhere.
That's probably where it'll fit in now. Is somewhere at the reception. Probably after all the quintessential dance songs and stuff you got to do. Once all of the processional whatever, the normal stuff's gone, here comes Rocky Top.
Yeah, this thing is like hours long. Like, this isn't a 20-minute thing where you pick out 4 songs and you're in a time limit.
No, this is like the royal wedding here, Brent. This is a whole. I mean, we're going to be commentating on it. It's going to be everything.
We're telling a story here with this wedding. I think like that's what he's telling. He's like, there's no flow to it. This isn't a book I'm reading. No. Is it a movie I'm watching? We got to like.
This is the Godfather 1 and 2. It's going to be like 7 hours long.
It's on the Action Sports Jacks 24/7 network coming later this year.
Whole day of content.
I mean,
that's amazing.
We love you, Erin, but we got to get Rocky Top in the damn wedding.
I'm sure it'll fit in there.
Like,
somewhere.
I hope we're not bullying, but
once the olds go to bed, Nick, because that's kind of like a drinking song. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I can't stand the song. Went to Kentucky and heard it all the time from Tennessee fans. I mean, I went to Murray State, but obviously bordering Tennessee, I heard that song all the time. But I feel like the appropriate time to play said song is like when you got a beer in your hand, you're kind of dancing around and stuff.
Yeah, it was actually my idea because I asked her. I said, "Is this still going to be the exit song?" And I was like, even to me, I was like, "This doesn't really seem like a good exit song." Transitioning from the wedding to the reception, I was like, "Let's just put it somewhere else." Yeah. So it may be in the like somewhere in the reception later, dancing, whatever. You know, towards the end of the night, and it's dying down, and you want to liven it back up a little bit. Then yeah, sure, Rocky Top will come blaring in at some point.
But
so hey, listen. So you're once saying, again, this isn't my wedding.
Go ahead. You're the wedding planner, Austin. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. So here's what I see for you two. Because I mean, obviously it's a unique relationship. Never met her before, but she sounds lovely. Nick, I've known you for a while now. Human Enigma. Here's what I propose that you do with Rocky Top. I say that we're gonna bring like a full string quartet in, you know, violins and everything, and it's gonna be like a very mood-setting Rocky Top, not like the banjos and like you're doing the dance. I'm saying violins, I'm saying cellos and everything, and I'm saying, oh, Rocky Top, and that's gonna be your entrance song, right? So it's gonna be nice and chill. It's gonna be the Rocky Top on the violins and everything. Have them play it. You make your entrance, and that's your entrance. And then in the middle of the night, when all the olds go to bed, then you turn up to 11, and then you actually play the real Rocky Top. But have a nice tasteful, have a nice modest Rocky Top when you make your entrance, Nick.
2 things. It's not a violin. It's a fiddle.
Yes.
So strike number 1, it's a fiddle.
First of all, class it up. Once again, a fiddle is like, hey, it's a Zach Brown band. You know, we're dancing. We got our flannels on. We're trying to be classy. We need a violin and a cello playing Rocky Top. Okay, what's number 2?
The song's already been picked for the entrance, and I actually kind of like that one. And Rocky Top, no, you don't slow the tempo. You don't. It's. Are you going to take Cotton Eye Joe and slow Cotton Eye Joe down?
Joe.
Good. Well, however the song goes, I don't even know. No, you're not going to slow it down. Yeah. You're going to play it full tilt as fast as it can be played. It's going to be like Charlie Daniels playing The Devil Comes Down to Georgia as fast as he can. It's like Rocky Top just going. It's the only way to do it. You play it full blast. Okay. You don't slow it down and make it melodic. You play Rocky Top like 101,900 people are singing it in unison.
Well,
I'm trying to make you go viral. I feel like if you played Rocky Top slow down for the wedding entrance, that's going to be everywhere on Twitter.
That could be like this is like I just said, Duvall. Like that was a little bit of that change on it, right?
Yeah,
I mean, and that did go viral, so maybe it can work.
Somebody made a funny comparison.
Nick, I'm just saying, Nick, if you do that, the next big home game at Tennessee, whoever they're hosting, guess who's doing the coin flip?
You're fan of the year.
That's you, big dog.
Fan of the year.
That's you, man.
Ironically, opening kickoff game. Well, it wouldn't work out because the game's going to happen before the wedding. First game of the year is against Syracuse in Atlanta. She's from north of Syracuse. Is a quote Syracuse fan. She's got friends that are season ticket holders and whatnot. But I do kind of want to go to that game. I have to admit, because I think it would be fun to go to. But that would be, if we could flip the coin at that one, do the coin flip there, that'd be awesome. But unfortunately, it happens out of order, so that won't happen.
Yeah, that would be a tough one to do. Well, we got to get Rocky. Hopefully, we just got Rocky Top into the wedding. Mission accomplished.
Rocky Top was going to be in it. I just don't know in the wedding part.
Yeah, I didn't. I kind of was a little. I thought you meant the whole thing. Like I kind of get the hesitation to go walking into the reception or walking out of the wedding part, that little transition moment. Being Rocky Top, but you got to play it in the reception. As long as it's played in the reception, I'm cool with it. That's good.
I can't remember what the exit
He's
song
going to be drunk in the parking lot playing from his cell phone, and that's going to be it. Cool. All right.
Yeah, that wouldn't be enough.
Just leaned up on the truck in the,
be
the gravel parking lot. But I think our exit song or first dance or how you start the dance kind of thing is going to be Dance the Night by Dua Lipa from the Barbie movie. Because I love the song. It's so good. There's some Dua Lipa Barbie songs that are pretty good. Hey, I'm just being honest, boys. I'm just being honest.
We're too good for a slowed down, paceful Rocky Top for the entrance.
I never said
we're not
too
even
good.
ashamed of ourselves when we're playing the Barbie soundtrack. Okay, whatever, man.
What is this song?
It's called "Dance the Night Away" by Dua Lipa.
Have I heard of this?
You probably have.
I don't know if I have, Brent.
I don't.
Have either of you seen the Barbie movie?
No.
Watch it. It's
sure haven't, man. I saw Oppenheimer instead.
It's Barbenheimer, Oppenheimer. I saw it first, saw the other one a year later. It's worth seeing it. It's a very good song. Can we even do this?
No.
We are.
Well, who cares? It's Action Sports Jacks 24/7 stream. We do what we like here.
You can play less than 8 seconds. I think I just did it.
It was 7.95.
Yeah, I don't know that. I just love the fact that Nick is just comfortable enough to throw that out there. That he got excited about that.
I think there's some other Dua Lipa stuff. If I could find a way to fit it in the wedding, I would 100% do. She's got good music.
Yeah, there we go.
Just
all right.
on the Dua Lipa bandwagon now?
Yeah, and Hooters has good wings.
That's good.
It just ripped the e-brake for a U-turn on that one.
Let's talk some football. How about that? We'll get you off the hook, Nick. Brian Thomas Jr. How is Liam Coen going to use him? Here's the quote. Well, it's not the exact quote, but it's kind of a paraphrase quote. The idea that Coen didn't know what he could do in the slot was kind of fascinating to me until he watched it. And I think it actually says a little something about the draft process for Brian Thomas Jr. because everybody thought he just ran go routes in that offense at LSU, and Malik Neighbors is the guy that did a little bit more. And part of the reason he fell was because of that. Well, the Jags get him, and he can do everything. They start moving him around a little bit halfway through the year. They obviously highlight him a bunch in the last couple of months of the season with other guys hurt. And then Liam Cohen's like, I didn't even know he could do this stuff from the slot. Holy cow, man, my head's about to explode. I can do all these things. Austin, how are they going to use Brian Thomas Jr. in Liam Cohen's offense? Because he has been a guy over the years. And if you listen to when he talked about his dad even growing up, his dad always thought, hey, how do I highlight this player? How do I use this player with this skill set? Players, not plays, actually started way back then for him. And then he did this with Mike Evans. A lot of people talk about how the Bucs offense was run through Mike Evans in a lot of ways. So you just have a feel that Brian Thomas Jr. is going to get that kind of love and attention in the playbook from Liam Coen.
Yeah, without a doubt. And the beauty of, as opposed to Mike Evans, I feel like Mike Evans, nothing against Mike Evans, going to be a Hall of Famer one day. But I feel like Mike Evans does a few things really well, right? He has size. You can put him in the end zone. He's a red zone threat, run the go route. But are you going to motion him around? Are you going to put him in the slot? Probably not, right? Because he's more of a I don't want to say a one trick pony because that's kind of disrespectful, but he's really good at the trick. When you look at the Sean McVay coaching tree, whether it's Los Angeles, whether it's what they're doing now in Minnesota. Green Bay doesn't count because I can't name a wide receiver in Green Bay. Sorry, Christian Watson. But like when you look at some of these guys that have come to the coaching tree, they go above and beyond to try to get their guys the ball. You saw it with Cooper Kupp a couple years ago when he broke the record, and then Puka Nacua comes in, and then you see it with Puka Nacua. You've seen it with Mike Evans in Tampa Bay. You've seen it with Justin Jefferson. We saw it firsthand in Jacksonville when they were trying to force him the ball in the end zone, caused 3 interceptions in the end zone because of it. So, yeah, I'm excited for the potential of Brian Thomas Jr. of what it's going to look like. And most importantly, I think Liam Coen knows this. You can line him up everywhere as long as he has the ball in his hands. And this was kind of the second half of the Jaguars of when they kind of turned the page a little bit and being a little more respectable on offense. When Brian Thomas Jr. started getting all the targets, whether it was in the slot, whether it was, on a 2-yard, slant route, when the ball's in his hands, great things can happen. So bring on the bubble screens, bring on the go routes, bring on whatever you got, just make sure the ball's getting in his hands.
Yeah, and I think it's funny how the bubble screens and the screen game sometimes can get overused and tired. For fans, and I think even in this offense at times for Jags fans, but it's really something that like Coen does very well. The screen game is something that is highlighted, and what he was able to do in the past stops or these kind of offensive schemes, what they do in the screen game, and the ability to use Brian Thomas Jr. I thought underrated. One of the best things we saw to Brian Thomas Jr. later in the season. I'm talking the last couple of weeks when they really were trying to get him the football, and sometimes in that capacity, I thought you were able to see him run in traffic. You were able to see him run and kind of visualize space, because so many of our highlights of Brian Thomas Jr. in general, but especially in the first half of the year, were just going down the field and making a play or some one-on-one type of action, and maybe it's a 24-yard play. Well, I think it's a skill set that you need to have, a vision that you need to have, a willingness you need to have to be able to be in the traffic with either bubble screens, regular screens, or just short passes in general that are going to be blocked, and then you can navigate. And I actually thought he did a really nice job of that, Austin. Like I hadn't seen much of it yet, but I thought he did a good job of that. And I don't think that's a given, is my point. Like, I don't think everybody's good at doing that. But I thought he was, for a guy that just can go, boom, 0 to 60, he was patient in the times that he needed to be patient in those moments, and then was still able to turn the gear on. So I think you are going to see a lot of that use, maybe even behind the line of scrimmage or just over the line of scrimmage, along with trying to beat guys deep, which is going to make him a really tough defend.
Yeah, without a doubt. And that's the thing too, Brent. Like, he's only scratching the surface. Like what we saw last year from Brian Thomas Jr., he's still learning the game of football at the professional level. And he did that much. So imagine what it's going to look like now when a year under your belt, right? Maybe even better play calling than you had last year. Like, I think the sky's the limit. I think and there's going to be a couple key components here, but one of the biggest things is who's going to be his complementary player next to him. Who's going to be the Jordan Addison? Who's going to be the Puka Nacua? Who's going to be the guy that when the double teams happen, because they will happen, who's the guy that's going to be dependable to say, okay, we're going here next? Like Gabe Davis, I feel like was brought in to be that guy, but let's call a spade a spade. We didn't really see much from Gabe Davis last year. So does he cement himself now in the role where it's like, all right, man, we're going to need you to step up, and if Brian Thomas Jr. is getting doubled, you got to be the guy. Is Christian Kirk going to be that guy? Can he stay healthy? So I think that's a big question mark going forward now, is who's going to be the Jordan Addison? Who's going to be the guy when the double teams are going to happen? Who's going to step up and elevate their game as well?
Well, we talked a little bit about this earlier in the show, and a lot of folks in the chat and just people in general that I'm starting to see, they would like to maybe take, hey, go get Metcalf, go get T. Higgins, go get these kind of guys to add to that, to your point. Go get two number ones, essentially, right? That is what you would have there. Do the Jags need that? Like, do they already have, can Kirk be that guy? Can Gabe Davis help be that guy? Can you exploit those guys even more? Let's just say for the time being, Evan Ingram's still here too. If you have this cast here, do they have the players that can do that and be I don't want to say necessarily Addison, but really the 1B and maybe even a 1C where you can exploit the skill sets, because that is one thing I thought they put the pieces together on, Austin, here with Trent Baalke and this offensive staff. These guys all have different skill sets, which I think is a good thing. It makes it hard to defend. I mean, don't forget that Christian Kirk from the slot was one of the best receivers for a couple of years in 22 and 23 while he was healthy in certain areas of the field, like the red zone. Like he was one of the top guys from the slot. So, I mean, this guy's only 28 years old. It's not like he's getting long in the tooth. So do they already have that? Do they need to go get that? Do they need to draft that to help out Brian Thomas Jr. and get that Addison-type player?
Listen, it's wild because I feel like, and I'm not going to say that Christian Kirk's fallen off or anything, because once again, injuries happen. But it seems like, when it falls off, it falls off. Like, look at Cooper Kupp this past year. Cooper Kupp a couple years ago was the best wide receiver in the NFL. And if you follow him in fantasy at all, he's kind of an afterthought because it's the Puka Nacua show now. So can I take a look at Christian Kirk? Can I take a look at Gabe Davis and say, yeah, I trust these guys to be the 1B when, Brian Thomas Jr. gets double teamed? I don't know if I can, Brent. And once again, a lot has to do with injuries and availability, but I wouldn't be, I wouldn't be shocked. I wouldn't be upset if they try to address it in free agency, if they try to address it in the draft and try to go with a 1B receiver, because I think that's what Trevor Lawrence needs. I think there's some quarterbacks talk about this all the time. There's the elite quarterbacks. There's the top 5 quarterbacks that, whether it's Josh Allen, whether it's Lamar Jackson, it doesn't really matter like who you're throwing to. You can elevate everybody around you. Trevor's not on that level yet. I think Trevor's more on the Jalen Hurts level. Like Jalen Hurts at one time was considered an MVP, but guess what? Jalen Hurts has A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. Oh, and Dallas Goedert to throw to. And he's handing the ball off to Saquon Barkley. And I get, like, maybe, Jalen Hurts in terms of numbers and everything has had kind of a quiet season, but that offense still goes through him as well. And he's done his part. So I am definitely not opposed, especially with the new coach coming in, an offensive-minded coach, trying to help out Trevor Lawrence. I'm all for getting that 1B receiver.
Yeah, and listen, if you do that, I just feel like it makes more sense, and I said this at the top of the show, it makes more sense to come in the draft. And it doesn't have to come in the 5th overall pick. I'm just saying I feel like it's better to come in the draft because of the investment you already have in the wideout position. I think when you're investing in your quarterback the way they are with the dollars, you got to be a little careful to invest like the Miami Dolphins are investing in wide receivers in terms of that money. There's also a reason why T. Higgins is likely going to be available, because they're not going to pay Higgins and Chase and Burrow, right? So this is a great time to be able to even go get a younger player at this time, like they did with Brian Thomas Jr. And if you can hit on that, you can get much cheaper and younger even, and Higgins is a young guy still, by the way. So it'll be interesting to see how they do it. I think people would be excited about getting another weapon or replacing one of these weapons. And I'll continue to say I do think Gabe Davis is a guy that has an excellent shot to be here, because I think if you look at his cap hit, it's not much. So it's a very reasonable number for a guy that's still got upside. I would think a lot of people would look at, even though I know Jags fans are down on him. As you say all that, and I'm thinking through it and listening to you, I'm trying to think of what does Liam Coen want this offense to look like if you picked somebody else. Like when Doug took the job, we're like, okay, they're going to be like the Kansas City Chiefs, right? I mean, they're going to do things a little bit like that. And they kind of built it in that respect. But in a quarterback-centric offense, you need the quarterback to play very well. You need him to be available. And, well, Patrick Mahomes is at a different level than everybody else. And so they can get away with it. The Jags, I don't think, got away with it at a consistent level because Trevor wasn't consistent enough. Or everybody else wasn't too, and then the injuries came. You mentioned the Rams and McVay. You mentioned O'Connell in Minnesota, and then Liam just came from the Bucs. I kind of look at those offenses, and quite frankly, I see a lot of similarities in a lot of those offenses. Is there one that stands out more than the other? Or is there another one that we're missing that you think he'll build this offense around Trevor to kind of replicate?
So it's kind of funny because we say build around Trevor, and I get Trevor's the featured focal point here, as he should be. He's your franchise quarterback. But I think if you look at those teams, you look at the Rams, you look at the Vikings, you look at the Bucs, one big thing they had in common, and yeah, and I'll put the Vikings in here, yeah. So one big thing that they had in common, is the ability to run the football. Like, behind Puka Nacua, behind Justin Jefferson, behind Mike Evans, you had running backs that were keeping the defense honest, right? You had Aaron Jones in Minnesota. You had Kyron Williams, one of the most underrated running backs in all of football, in LA. And then you had Bucky Irving, cat out of Oregon, rookie, kind of do his thing as well. So I think, and he's mentioned complimentary football. I truly believe that. I think Doug Peterson wanted to do that this past season. I think he wanted to run the football. We talked about this a lot, but it didn't get done. I think that's going to be the main focal point this offseason, going into OTAs and going into training camp, is Liam Cohen's going to try to build up that offensive line, shore it all up, make sure they can run the football. And by doing that, the pass game will take care of itself.
Do you think, well, you kind of just said it. I was going to ask the question, and then I listened to your last 5 words. You think it will take care of itself? Is that enough? If they get the rushing offense of the Jags was not very good. I think we did this the other day. It was like 26th overall yards. Let's go by yardage. And you take the Jags were, like 26th. Below them, Cowboys, Seahawks, Browns, Bengals, Jets, Raiders. The only good quarterback out of all those teams are the Bengals. They put it in Burrow's hands. He was able to have a tremendous year. The Rams, by the way, not great in the running game, or as good as many would think, even with Kyron Williams, from a yardage standpoint. They only averaged 3.9 yards per carry as well, and they were just 2 slots ahead of the Jags. The Chiefs, by the way, not in the top half of the league, but obviously their offense isn't as dynamic as it used to be either, and Pacheco was hurt quite a bit this year. The Vikings are right around the middle, just looking at some of these teams that could be similar. And what was the other one? And then we obviously mentioned the Bucs. The Bucs are top 4. If you look at the top 5 teams, top 6 teams in the NFL this year, you get the Ravens, the Eagles, the Commanders, the Bucs, and the Packers, and all their quarterbacks had very good years. You have to really go to the Cardinals. They were number 7 running the football, and I wouldn't say Murray's year stood out above anybody else. The Colts also very good at running the football. Same deal. Their quarterback didn't flourish because of it. But then the Bills were next on that list. So what I'm asking you is kind of something you just said. If they figure out the running game, and let's just say it moves from 26th to 12th, is that enough? Does that mean Trevor Lawrence flourishes just because they figured the offensive line and the running game out to the degree they did?
I would say if you figure the running game out, and once again, I think you have to go with another wide receiver in some aspect. I think if you upgrade that position, then you'll be set up for success.
We'll see a big year from Trevor. Or maybe his best one.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and that's it's not a trick question. I just wanted to confirm it. I think my point is you don't have to do that much, right? I mean, if you can figure it out, that's easier said than done. You can't just pencil in I'm going to be 12th in the league or 10th in the league in rushing. But this guy has really figured it out. I mean, they were playing pretty decent offense already in Tampa, but they were still 32nd 2 years in a row in rushing. And he comes in and boom, 4th. So I'm not telling you they need to be 4th. They also weren't 32nd here. They're 26th. I mean, if you can just jump up halfway through the league, not 28 spots, but like 14 spots, that might be the simplest recipe of really getting this offense going. And I think we all want to be able to see them move people on 3rd and 1 and 4th and 1 in short yardage. If they can just fix the short yardage situations, Austin, I think everybody would feel a lot better on top of what we're talking about with the running game.
Without a doubt. And I think a big question, I think it, how I feel about the running backs, I feel about Tank Bigsby. I thought he was going to have a breakout year this year. Do they need to address the running back spot?
I know.
Do they have what they need to be successful? Like I understand he was Liam Coen being that was excited for Travis Etienne and Tank Bigsby. Some can argue were they used properly in terms of rep share and all this stuff. But like going forward, are you confident with Etienne and Bigsby being the 1-2, or would you rather once again address it in the draft? Free agency is kind of a wash. I'd probably say the draft. Like, would you rather see him bring somebody else in?
Yeah, I don't go there. Like, I don't go there in part because I don't know. Like Hamby's Burner says RJ Harvey, and there's some, it's fine that you like RJ Harvey. I don't know where people project him in the draft. I also don't really sit there and look at RJ Harvey and I'm like, oh, okay, that's a great upgrade from what the Jags have. I think the Jags are talented in the backfield if they can get more out of them. So, but I also feel like that about a lot of their offense, honestly. I think they just need these guys to all play a little bit better. What you're asking is, do they need Ashton Genty? And they're not going to get him with the 5th pick. But, like, would you do something like
Bucky
that?
Irving?
Look what they did with Bucky Irving, yeah. So do you find that guy...
Where was he drafted, Brent?
I think Bucky Irving was a 2nd-round pick. Okay. Been a 3rd. Let me just check real quick, but I'm... hang on. I'm sorry. He was a 4th-round pick. 4th-round pick. Which, by the way, lends to the fact that they're definitely not going to go in the 1st round. First of all, you already have a couple guys. So there's no reason to go in the 1st round with a back. But there's also, like, this guy they picked a 4th-round guy and made him do this, which is also the story of the running back, right? I mean, for years and years, it's why you don't pick a guy early on because you can find this. But can they identify? Could they identify a Bucky Irving type? I would say this. I don't feel like the Ernest Johnson is a part of this year. So you're going to need another back. So now if you start asking me, Brent, do you think they're going to pick a back in the 3rd round, 4th round, whatever? They've got a bunch of picks. So I would say, yeah, absolutely. Why wouldn't you? Because quite frankly, Etienne is on his last year. You don't even know if he's going to be a part of it after this year anyway. So you do need to start thinking ahead. And then if this guy that you pick ends up just being better, well, then you can make those kind of moves. Much like the Jags did when they had James Robinson. They're like, hey, guess what? This dude's better than Fournette's running right now. We're going to cut Fournette. We're going to keep this guy. So, I would say absolutely, Austin, they do draft a back. I just don't think they're going to go chase one like in free agency or in the 1st round or even probably early in the 2nd round. I don't think they're doing anything like that.
No, without a doubt. But yeah, I was wondering, I mean, I think it's a possibility. I mean, are you saying you want to get rid of big game Ernest Johnson when the game's on the line and it's 3rd down or 4th down? Brent, who else are you going to go to?
I don't want to talk bad about the Ernest Johnson. It's not his fault he was put in those spots.
I'm not talking bad about him. This is more on Doug Peterson or Press Taylor, whoever's calling the play.
Yeah. So but yes, they need to. That's part of the not running it back part. Like they need to make. So we talked about this earlier in the week. You can't just come back with the same offense. I mean, people were pissed off when they ran it back in 22 to 23. Like they were legitimately mad about that, and they really did kind of run it back, with the exception of a couple players. Well, you definitely can't do that coming off a 4-win team. I mean, you've got to try to look like you're changing pieces, not just scheme and coaching and everything else, and hope it works. So I don't know where that goes and what that looks like. It'll be interesting. Here's another thing that pops in my mind before we hit a break. Let's just say you know what you know from this year. And you know Derrick Henry does what he does in Baltimore. And you know Saquon Barkley does what he does in Philadelphia. If you knew that, and you're the Jags right now in their current situation with Liam Coen coming in where he wants to improve the run game, and he's got a couple backs that he likes, but you can definitely get better in the run game. Do you think you would now be a candidate for a player like that, Henry or Barkley, this offseason?
I mean, I think any team's a candidate. Yeah. Like, I think if you bring in a Saquon Barkley or Derrick Henry, they immediately upgrade your offense, obviously. Right. And I think with Baltimore, it was more of trying to find, because like with Baltimore, it was obvious that they didn't really know how to use him right away. Because, you know, like with Derrick Henry, it's like you have to center the game around him.
Yeah.
Right. And I felt like, well, they had Justice Hill and it was kind of a change up, and all of a sudden they're down by 10. Do you want to go with Derrick Henry? Do you want to pass more and run with Lamar Jackson? So they kind of had to find that balance a little bit in terms of how they're going to use Derrick Henry. Saquon, on the other hand, it was just, plug and play him and watch him do his thing. Because guess what? The guy's a hell of a receiver as well. So I think they're two vastly different running backs, but they both fit their systems respectively. But yeah, absolutely. I think if you have an opportunity to bring one into Jacksonville, for sure it would make a huge difference.
All right, so a couple of guys I think that are available in 2025. Aaron Jones, would you have any interest?
No.
Najee Harris.
No.
J.K. Dobbins.
Injuries, probably not.
And this one's interesting, and I understand the injury part of it, but you probably could get it cheaper just to take a flyer on it. Nick Chubb.
Oof. That one's tough just because if you watch like his last couple of games, he kind of lost his step a little bit, ended up getting kind of benched for Jerome Ford, it seemed like.
Yep.
I mean, those with all due respect, and they're great running backs, sure, but like I don't see the Derrick Henry, Saquon Barkley factor of any of those guys.
Kareem Hunt.
Man, I mean, he's running hard, right? And he's got his little niche there in Kansas City, but once again, I don't think he's going to add that Derrick Henry factor. No.
Yeah. Anyway, just thought let's see if
that's
find
the rest of them.
Well, it's kind of on some of these lists. It seems like those are the top guys available. I don't think you're going to. I don't think I'm going to get you excited about anybody else. There's not Henry and Saquon Barkley is my point. You don't have those guys coming available this time around. I mean, Jordan Mason, San Francisco, Jalen Warren, Pittsburgh, Javonte Williams, Denver, Gainwell, Cam Akers. So no, there's really. I think if you're going anywhere, you're going probably in the draft. You've got the veteran guys now. Honestly, Tank Bigsby's going his year 3. You've got the 5th year of ETN. Those guys have experience. And now you probably go get younger. And really the eye on this is to replace ETN next year. You probably say goodbye to ETN after his 5th year, and now you've got your backs for the next couple of years. So this is a great opportunity to replenish. I just don't think you're probably going to get the star guy, but can you find the star guy like Tampa did in Bucky Irving? They really did. That was great drafting by them. They found the guy that could do it and handle it, and maybe Liam Coen and whoever the next GM is can help do that. For the Jacksonville Jaguars. Let's take a break here on the show. Brent and Austen Show on the Action Sports Jacks 24/7 network. Hey, I want to remind you, the Action Sports Jacks Dream 18 card is available. We're selling a bunch of them, so get in line and just go to actionsportsjacksdream18.com. It is the best value in all of Jacksonville if you know anybody who likes to play golf. And I invite you to do it soon because St. John's Golf and Country Club, you can only use that one through the month of February because they are doing a renovation, but it's a great savings at St. John's Golf and Country Club as the weather warms up and you have all of February to use that. That alone is worth getting the Dream 18 card. Help support some of our charities as well. Action Sports Jacks, dream18.com.
If you don't see a pit, it ain't legit. When you hear that, you think Bono's Pit Barbecue, a staple in Northeast Florida now for 75 years. A place that feels like home with friendly service. A meeting place for friends, family, or business occasions. On the menu, the corn nuggets are a favorite in our house, but there's something for everyone. Sandwiches, platters, salads, sides, desserts, and family feasts. You see Bono's all over the place in Northeast Florida. There are almost 20 locations in the Jacksonville area now, so stop on by, sit down, and dine in with Bono's. You can also take it to go. There are drive-thrus in many of the locations, and they have delivery options too. Just download the Bono's app to make things easy. I signed up for the loyalty program, and you can too to get special offers. If Jacksonville is home, few things feel more Jacksonville than Bono's Pit Barbecue. Celebrate 75 years and many more to come. Bono's Pit Barbecue. If you don't see a pit, it ain't legit.
For the game day hustle and every day in between. Juggling my show, Jags Social, to going under the Friday night lights and a social life, it's a daily tournament. But this ride, MVP status. The all-new 2024 Lincoln Nautilus isn't just my car, it's my personal locker room, office on the go, and VIP lounge on wheels. Let's talk tech. My profile remembers everything from customizing my dash display to setting the ambient lighting and my signature scent. And wireless charging, essential for live tweeting scores. Whether I'm packing for a beach day with friends or heading to the gym, there's space for every passion. After dominating all day, this becomes my recovery zone. The massage feature is like having a personal PT on call. Life's a non-stop game, but with this ride, I'm always on my A game. The 2024 Lincoln Nautilus. Drive your passion.
You trust CGC to make your water great, and now you can trust CGC with your plumbing needs as well. Fast, convenient scheduling, licensed and insured. A quick call away at 904-552-1242.
You never know when you're going to have an issue with a shower, toilet, or maybe it's a sink that sometimes is easy to fix. All right, let's be honest. I'm not fixing anything. I'm totally staging this because when I have a plumbing problem, I call CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing.
Trained professionals, transparent pricing, customer satisfaction. Small problem or even a bigger issue. Right now, save 10% off a new Rinnai tankless water heater. The experts with 25 years of experience at CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing can do it all. Call 904-552-1242 or visit cgcwater.com. For a limited time, CGC is waiving the trip charge on all related plumbing calls. CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing, an authorized independent Connecticut dealer. Florida license number CFC 1432579.
Here on Spring Sports Media Day on Action Sports Jack.
It's an opportunity, an education beyond the classroom and the sports arena. Life skills, testing skills, social skills. It's called High School 912, a program focused on maximizing the growth of students in academics, sports, and life. And here's your chance to get involved. If you're a local business, or if you just want to make a donation to help support programs like ACT and SAT boot camps, career days, Leadership Academy, Financial Literacy Academy, and so much more.
All right, another Nice High School Panther, Jack Cool.
High School 912 supports and hosts high school sporting events and several media days throughout the year. For more information on how you can get involved, visit jackshighschool912.com.
It's the place we party in football season with Jaguars All Access. Welcome to Spring Sports Brewery, everybody. Say hello to our guest tonight. That is Trevor Lawrence. You can bring your party or event to Spring Sports Brewery in Springfield any day and any time. Rehearsal dinners, corporate events, birthdays. Here at Strings, you can enjoy the inside area and the outside area. Good for any weather, good for any occasion. Watch the games, play the games, shoot some hoops. Beer? Yeah, they have that. Plenty of choices. And sure, this is a brewery, but Strings is also a restaurant, and the food is fantastic. A full menu made from scratch meals. And if you need String Sports Brewery to help with a party at your place, they cater too. Family, beer, food, sports. Spring Sports Brewery in Springfield.
Welcome back to the Brent and Austen Show, streaming on the Action Sports Jax 24/7 network.
Nice day here in Jacksonville, and well, like painting a picture, like we do with Paint the Play on the Brent and Austen Show. I think we're going to have to do a little bit more of that with the Liam Coen stuff. Now, painting some of those plays might be really fun. You can do that with That One Painter First Coast, by the way. We do that segment occasionally here on the show. And, well, if you're looking to paint your house or interior or exterior or have any painting needs at all, visit thatonepainter.com/first-coast. Thatonepainter.com/first-coast, or just give them a call, 904-643-3025. 904-643-3025. Brent Martineau, Austin Lane. Nick in the daytime is with us here on this Thursday. He'll be back tomorrow, and we're getting closer and closer to Super Bowl 59. Cameron Scattaboo is the name that people want as the running back. I don't know where his draft projection is. He's a fun guy. He's a bruiser. And I don't know how he'll be in the NFL, but I know he's kind of a little bit of a folk hero right now, coming off the college football playoff and what he did at Arizona State. We just talked a lot about the running game. And if you look at these two teams in the Super Bowl, they definitely have that. We have said it for years now. Pacheco and now Kareem Hunt really have aided Kansas City Chiefs offense, and it's not always to the tune of 150 yards or 170 yards. It might just be a timely 87 yards in a game or something like that. And then on the other side of things, we've got Saquon Barkley having one of the finest seasons of all time. He is just a machine. And I guess the question is, because the Bills ran okay against the Chiefs, can the Chiefs stop Saquon Barkley, Austin, in a couple of Sundays?
I mean, I feel like you can't stop them. You can only hope to contain. Yeah, I mean, I feel like Saquon Barkley is almost matchup proof at this point, Brent, where it doesn't really matter who he's playing. Like the dude's just so dynamic and so special where he's going to get his breakout yards regardless. So, yeah, I mean, I think they're going to have problems stopping him, whether they can like keep it within, because he'll probably get over 100 yards. Like I'm not even sure like, what the rushing prop is. I'm sure we'll break that down more.
Probably like
week,
119 or something. That's what it was. Like it was like 119 going into that game the other day.
I assume the prop is probably over, 119, and I assume probably the longest rush of the day for him is maybe like 18 or 19, and I'd probably take the over on both those.
I don't like, or I'm not really rooting for anybody in this game, so I'm not really sure I like either team. But I feel like I do like Saquon Barkley. It's interesting. Like I never was like follow him at Penn State or coming out with the Giants. Like obviously he was a big name and he could be, his first few years remind me a little bit of Zion Williamson in the NBA, where they were riddled by injury, but he had all this talent and you want to see it blossom and you think he could be just this huge name in the sport. It hasn't materialized yet for Zion Williamson. Maybe it will. Maybe it might need a change of scenery for him to get either better luck or better just everything. And that's what it took for Saquon Barkley. And now just watching him, and he's been so prominent this year in so many of the shows and interviews and all this other thing. I think he's really a cool guy. Like, there's a lot to like about Saquon Barkley. I didn't know this much about him in the past other than that he was a really talented back and a physical freak. But he's an easy guy to root for, man. And I find myself rooting a little bit for the Eagles because of Saquon Barkley.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair. He seems like a likable dude. And it's funny, man, because obviously when Jalen Ramsey won his Super Bowl, we all kind of felt a certain type of way about it, I feel like, in Jacksonville, because, like, yeah, that was our guy. Imagine what the New York Giants fans are thinking, like, still. Okay, like, can you imagine? Because, like, yeah, Ramsey was one thing, but, like, it's not like Ramsey necessarily had his fingerprint, like, on that entire run. Like, he helped out, obviously, but they had a lot of great players in that Rams team. Saquon, and once again, not taking away from Jalen Hurts, AJ Brown, Dallas Scott, like they have great players, but like Saquon's essentially put the team on his back and said, like, we're going to the Super Bowl. So I can't imagine like what's going through Giants fans, minds when it's like, you had him. He was on your team and you let him slip through your fingers because, well, the price was a little too high and you put your faith in Daniel Jones. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's an interesting comp. And by the way, Joshua says 114 and a half on the yard, so we're pretty close. But yeah, that sounds about right. I think it's
over.
Yeah, over. Well, yeah, I flirted with like, okay, he's going to be off this week. There's going to be so much attention. Like even Washington, it didn't matter. Like he breaks off the first run of the game for like 60 something yards. But I think it's an interesting comp what you just said because close to home, Ramsey is. We knew the Jags were letting go of an excellent player. I always say a Hall of Fame player. Like I think he's going to the Hall of Fame, and I think we knew it right away, and they were letting go of that guy. I don't think the Giants knew because of the injuries if this guy was going to be a Hall of Fame player. I just know they knew he was going to be a big-time player. And I think you're right about Ramsey. He can impact the game on every play, but you don't notice it every play. Saquon Barkley, you notice it. The ball's in his hands. He's having an unbelievable season. I'll say this difference, too. I don't think Jalen Ramsey needed to leave Jacksonville to continue to be great. He already was great. He had already got the accolades here in Jacksonville, and he would have continued to do that here. But it almost feels like Saquon Barkley had to leave New York and this Giants team the way they are currently constructed for us to be able to witness his greatness. And I think he had to go there. So in a way, I think like the Giants are the sacrificial lamb for the football fan because this is a phenomenal season. And you cannot tell me that Saquon Barkley would have ran for 2,000 if he was healthy all year with the New York Giants. It just wouldn't have happened. He wouldn't have done that. So for us to see how good he is and say all the things you just said, Austin, I think like this had to happen this way. And I don't know of many other occurrences like that in sports. And I'm sure there probably are because people have been talking about this Giants-Eagles thing all year. We haven't necessarily, but people have. So, like, make the comparison. And who had to like go to another team so you could untap the talent,
so they could flourish.
You know what I mean? Like
That's
it's a
good
very
call.
unusual deal. Again, he would not have done this in New York. He I'm not telling you he would have got hurt. I'm not telling you he would have ran for 800 yards. He would not have done this because, quite frankly, he got added to the Dodgers. I mean, the Eagles are already very good. They could have a lot of different backs walk in there and perform pretty well. I mean, they're a good football team. But I just think the showcase of his ability that everybody saw coming out of Penn State, this is the pinnacle of it, in part because he's in Philadelphia and not New York and the construction of their team.
Yeah, I mean, I know I'm sure various sports that's out there, but I can't really put a finger on a player like it. Right, where you have all the potential in the world. It doesn't work out in your first stop. Then you go someplace else and you are who we thought you were. I know there's guys out there. I can't think of any.
Well, listen, let me try to help out a little bit.
Something.
We'll take big time talents, right, that have moved on to other places like a LeBron James. Well, he was already great in Cleveland. Now, maybe did he have to leave to win? People wondered, and then he was able to go back and win. But to win, that's a different story.
Was still like. Yeah, but he was still an all-pro when he was in Cleveland. Like that's like Saquon wasn't. Like nobody knew what Saquon was going to be. It would be like Zion Williamson going from the Pelicans, going someplace else, and all of a sudden, he's like in the MVP conversation. Like I don't. There's not a lot of. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either. I just brought it up, but I'm trying to think of baseball even Yeah, I mean, just trying to think of baseball people that have won or won MVPs. Like, I'll give you, like Stanton went from the Marlins to the Yankees, but I think Stanton actually hit a bunch of home runs one year with the Marlins, and then he went and hit like 60 or something like that with the Yankees. So that kind of feels a little bit like that because he went to a team that was already good and elevated, like in that lineup, and boom, you produce that kind of stuff. So it has a little bit of that, but then he couldn't even maintain it. Although we don't know if Saquon's going to maintain it either.
So come with me on this one, see if you can get it. So this was a quarterback who was drafted very late round. Nobody really bought into him at all. Gets traded to a different team, puts the team on his back, and becomes a legend.
Oh, I just thought of his name. Oh.
Late round guy that
I'm pretty sure he was a late round guy. Didn't play much of the team that he was on. Gets traded next to nothing. Goes to a new spot with a new coach who believed in him, and kind of becomes the savior.
Did this guy almost go to the Miami Dolphins?
I don't think so.
No, it's not who I'm thinking it is.
I'm going to be honest. He didn't have a lot of calls. Like, it wasn't like he was a highly coveted dude.
Oh, that's nice.
Okay, hang on a second. But he got like traded or like free agency, moved him. I'll give you Drew Brees.
He was traded.
Are you saying Drew Brees?
No.
Oh, that's what you were saying, right? Were you thinking Drew Brees?
I was thinking he's a second rounder, though.
Someone said it in the chat.
Oh, is it Favre?
Brett Favre.
Going from Atlanta to Green Bay, yeah.
Oh, yeah, jeez.
Brett Favre was in Atlanta.
That's a yeah.
Brett Favre was in Atlanta.
I would have been here all day. Good job, Mr. Hugo. I would have been here all day, and we only got a few minutes left.
Yeah, that's one that sticks out to me.
Yeah, no, well, that's a great one.
But once again, I don't know if there's a lot of hype in Atlanta. I don't know.
Well, yeah, and by the way, you don't have to be an underhyped guy. I mean, Saquon Barkley was not underhyped. I mean, he was trying to live up to the hype, and by the way, had some really good moments. Some of it was injury, and some of it was just the team. Yeah, it's unique. I do think it's unique. I think we could probably find more examples of this. I like what Mr. Hugo just said. Mike Trout, if he ever leaves L.A., well, you don't have to leave L.A., just has to go to the other L.A. team. Maybe. Yeah. But you're right. Like, Mike Trout feels like he could be he could be untapped. Like, you could find more. Well, I don't know about the talent, but maybe the winning. See, and he's an injury guy, too. Like, can Mike Trout play even better than he's played? He's already one of the greatest of all time. So maybe I disagree with you here, Mr. Hugo. I'm not sure that actually fits the Saquon Barkley. The last 4 years, Saquon Barkley has had some good moments. If you look up his numbers, they're not atrocious. But nobody was even really rattling his name off like, oh, this guy's going to be unbelievable. This guy's great. This guy. They were kind of like, this isn't working out the way we all thought. I mean, it was 4 years of it, or 3 years of it, whatever it was. So, and some injuries, but it just wasn't excellent play. It wasn't close to this. I honestly do think Zion Williamson might be an answer to this. Like, if he moves to go to somewhere else, he could be someone else. Hey, Mr. Pico, that's a great one, by the way, with Big Papi. I mean, if people don't know, but David Ortiz played in Minnesota, and he was okay player, okay, and then he got to Boston, and whoa, that's a great one. Actually, I should have known that. That's a really good one. If you look back at the career arc of Big Papi and how that changed, David Ortiz, that's a really, really good one. I bet there's a lot of these in baseball because guys seem to move a little bit more in baseball, and baseball's a late bloomer sport to me more than the other sports. There are probably a bunch of examples
maybe
like this.
A-Rod.
Yeah, but he's
even
only
like he was good
great,
in
right?
Seattle.
Seattle, and Texas.
It was Griffey though. I mean, yeah,
like I think people.
But I always feel like A-Rod's kind of an afterthought next to Griffey in Seattle. You know?
Yeah. Did they ever doubt he was still great? Because I feel like people were doubting Saquon was as good as we thought he was. Is that fair?
Correct. Yeah, absolutely, for sure.
Yeah. Anyway, listen, we don't have to think about that one a little bit more. I think that's a fascinating part of this story. And my point in that story is the Giants fans are throwing up in their mouth. Like, why? How couldn't you? Right? Like, this is awful.
Yeah.
They've got the whole tape with them and the Hard Knocks thing and all that stuff. It's just awful. But my point is, for the fans down here that just enjoy football, that don't care about the Giants and don't care about the Eagles, or if you're just a fan of the sport, and many are, fantasy football-wise or gambling-wise or just watching-wise, I just don't think we get this guy if he doesn't leave New York. I don't think we get this version of him if he doesn't leave New York. Now, the other part of this question, Austin, is what if he did go somewhere else? Did he have to go to Philly to unleash this guy? Or what if he went to Minnesota? What if he went to the Rams? What if he went to the Bucs and they didn't draft Bucky Irving instead? Like, would he have produced, even if not this much, close to this much? Would it have looked like this in another spot, or did it have to be Philly? That one I don't know.
Yeah, that one I don't know either, but I think we can honestly say that Philly maximized his talents. Just because I think it was like the perfect situation. And once again, it's a testament to Howie Roseman, who was never satisfied, it seemed like, right? Like, you have a lot of weapons, but then you want to elevate it even more with Saquon Barkley, who, keep in mind, it was a little bit of a risk because he was coming off of injuries. But it goes to show you, like, when you have a solid offensive line, when you got a pretty good quarterback, when you have a hard-nosed coach, despite what people think about him, and when you have a pass game, it opens a lot of things up for you. So I just feel like it was the perfect situation for Saquon Barkley to succeed.
Yeah, me too. And listen, I give the Eagles a ton of credit here. And I think they had the guts to go make a move like this. And I actually think it might change GMing a little bit, what Roseman is doing. We wondered that a little bit with Snead in LA as we kind of wrap this thing up. Like, would people start to do that? Well, in the years since he did it and went and just got rid of every first-round draft pick and went and acquired people, nobody's really done that. That was still very unique. And now they're replenishing and building up again. And maybe years down the road, they'll look back at it and be like, well, what, you can even still replenish and get it back and be competitive quicker than you think you would if you give up 7 first-round draft picks in a row or whatever it was. But Roseman taking the chance to be like, hey, how much are you paying that dude over there to play linebacker or corner or receiver or tight end or right guard? $13 million? Well, this guy's going to be way better at $13 million. Go bring him in here. Just the price point. Who cares if it seems like a lot for a running back? Just give me your $13 million guy. For us, that's Gabe Davis. Would the Jags have been better off going to get Saquon Barkley or Gabe Davis? And that's not a knock on Gabe Davis, but that's what you have to ask yourself.
That's the wild thing about it, man. And I get hindsight's 20/20 and everything, but the way you look at it now, Brent, anybody would have paid $15 million to have Saquon Barkley on their team.
Absolutely. So it's just, I wonder if it starts to change the way teams think a little bit, even about a position like the running back, where they can make that difference. And by the way, Derrick Henry worked out really well in Baltimore, too, in that regard. The return of the running
and this is Yeah, and this is why I'm happy that it's shaping out how it is, Brent, just because, everyone wants to think, oh, just get a guy in the 4th, 5th round, you'll be fine. And that may be true. But when you have a guy like Derrick Henry and Saquon Barkley, like, they're the elite. They're the difference makers. And you add a difference maker to your team, it can turn the whole thing around.
All right, be a difference maker today down there in South Florida. Get another good workout in. We'll it again tomorrow, 10 a.m. Brent and Austen Show. Fleet and Footy coming up at 2 o'clock. By the way, we've got some soccer with Stuart Weber and Nathan Walter from the Jacksonville Armada. He'll be here as well. So some big news around the Armada this week as they get going on their stadium. We'll have that for you tonight or today at 2 o'clock on the Action Sports Jacks 24/7 network. You can watch it on social media, or you can also go to actionsportsjacks.com and actionnewsjacks.com, and you can find it there in all the different places on your smart TV as well. That's what you do with the Action Sports Jacks 24/7 network. Thanks for hanging out with us, Nick and Austin. I'm Brent Martineau. Have a good Thursday, everyone.